It sounded great. I've never been happier.
Follow Portland's sports leader on Odyssey and 1080 The Fan. The home of Danny and Dusty, always live on the Odyssey app, is KFXX KWJJ HD2 Portland, 1080 The Fan, an Odyssey station.
The first ever in-season tournament goes to the Los Angeles Lakers, and the NBA Cup will be hoisted by Anthony Davis and LeBron James. Davis with 41 points and 20 rebounds, and the King James with 24 points in the championship.
This is Dirt and Sprague.
4th and 15 from the Chiefs' 46. Mahomes in the gun, gets the snap. Four-man rush. Mahomes looking, throwing over the middle, and overthrows Kelsey at the 35-yard line. And the Bills will take over with 55 seconds left, and they will escape Kansas City with a victory.
With Andy Dirt Johnson and Brendan Sprague.
35. Hurts. Devontae Smith into the secondary and lost the football. And Dallas is on it. Third turnover for Philadelphia. Malik Hooker was there.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
All right, 6:02 in the Rose City. Time for Dirt and Sprague on Portland Sports Leader 1080 The Fan. Happy Monday, everybody.
What is happening? Gotta get everything plugged in, right volumes. There we go.
It's always a little chore to make sure everything's okay, working well.
You got to make sure all your volumes are right, man. You got to have the right volumes. I had to go on, we were on the TV broadcast Saturday, big TV star this weekend.
Yeah.
We had like a 6.5 minute stretch where the headsets just didn't work.
That's awesome.
And it was great. Couldn't hear a thing you were saying. You were screaming. I was shocked that I didn't lose my voice because at that point I'm just yelling so loud that I want to try and hear myself through the headset. I don't know if it's going to start working again. It's a bit of a nightmare.
A Teddy Bear record? Did I read that correctly?
Not quite. Not quite a teddy bear. A lot of teddy bears, though. Not quite a record, but a lot of bears.
The Teddy Bear Toss, it's an annual tradition.
It's every December, man. The Bears are on the ice.
It spurred the Winterhawks to a big weekend.
You think they would have more attendance if they did Teddy Bear Toss-like things every game?
Yes, they definitely would.
Yep.
But can you do one of those every game?
How do you? Yeah, that's a
what
lot.
What else can we throw on the ice?
36. I don't know if there's 36 events that can measure up to the Teddy Bear Toss.
Throw your child on the ice.
Yay! I made that joke with the wife. She didn't find it funny.
Well, yeah.
I said if he's Teddy Bear Teddy,
toss him on
the ice.
Yeah.
Come on, like the Squids in Detroit, man. That one didn't get laughed at.
I would imagine it wouldn't.
No.
That wouldn't.
But you with Teddy Ballgame riding the Zamboni.
Yeah,
I think
that's
you go.
Right up your alley. Yes.
Let's clean this ice, baby. Come on.
I would like to start the show by blaming Jason Swigart.
Okay.
What did I do this time?
Well, your loyalty ran out, and the year your loyalty runs out, your team might win the Super Bowl, and the team you chose is a disaster.
As I said last week.
So I don't know if there's a Cowboy problem or a swag problem.
As I said last week.
Now he's got to abandon the Dodgers to see if they can win a real World Series, and that might be the thing.
I'm already on the email notification when the Otani gear is ready to be purchased. I'm buying myself a Christmas present. There will be a 17 Dodger jersey coming soon.
What happens if you don't, though?
What do you mean?
Why don't you not buy yourself something and see who buys you an Otani thing first?
Ooh.
No. Well, why not?
You never know.
If people know you, this is the easiest gift.
True. But to get, I want the authentic thing.
Okay.
I don't want a T-shirt. No.
You want the real thing.
I want the authentic thing.
The $150 jersey.
The $250, whatever they're going to jack me for it. Yes, I'm paying it.
Okay.
Yeah,
no opt-outs in it. He's deferring his salary. How magnanimous of him, so they can get a starting pitcher because he can't pitch next season. But oh well. I was so happy. So happy.
You?
I hated life, and I thought, why do I even watch baseball? This is stupid. Your sport's dumb. It's too slow. Bunch of old white guys have watched this. I'm on to soccer now. Go Timbers. Who needs baseball in their life? I'm going to start watching tennis, damn it.
Not a chance in hell. Not a chance in hell.
It was a rough soccer weekend here.
Was it?
Yeah, the Beavs had a chance to extend things. They missed a wide-open net to tie things up against Notre Dame Friday night in the national semifinal.
No, they got to the Final Four.
It's a good run right there. Getting in the Final Four is a good
College
run.
sports, the Final Four is basically the
It
championship.
was, but they
You
had
hang banners for that.
Yeah,
they
you
had
do.
a golden opportunity and could not find the back of the onion bag.
Well, maybe if they didn't cheat, they would have won the game.
Maybe they had their best player. They would have hit that goal.
He might have made it right there. Wide open net. Shouldn't have got an extra yellow card.
You made it to the Final Four. Is there really a down part of that? I mean, you missed a shot. So what?
With my
When are you
basketball
gonna
team,
my question is, when are you going to be back? You got to seize the day.
I don't know how to answer that.
I don't either.
They could
I
be
don't know
back.
how-
I don't know.
I don't know how lucky this year was. I didn't know nothing about men's soccer.
Are they a good program? I don't know. Do they usually
They are.
do
They've
this?
built.
I don't know.
They've built.
I got nothing.
They've built it up over. They've been making the NCAA tournament on a regular basis.
I'll take your word for it. When my team made the Final Four in basketball, there was an emotional moment of, this is really cool, we made it. And you don't get too upset that you lose. And then I had to drive 24 hours back from Phoenix, Arizona. And that's when it really sucked.
Well, that's
That's
just
the difference
a
between.
bad circumstance.
Sure, it was terrible circumstance.
If you got run off the field, that was one thing. But you lost 1-0, and you had. I mean, you got the goalie out of position and two cracks at it, and
Did you watch this game?
yeah.
You watched the whole game.
I watched most of the game.
How do you have all this time?
It was Friday at 5:45. What were you watching?
Not
I
college
was
soccer.
I was with my wife on a weekend getaway at the coast.
yes,
I
you
was
were.
having a
preparing.
delightful little
I
dinner.
was preparing my chart for the early 11 a.m. tip for the Pilots at North Dakota. Thank God they finally got a road win. I felt bad for Shante. I thought he was going to break something if they didn't get that one.
What's the
They're good now.
percentage of sports fans right now that you think watched that soccer game? You
Papa
said
Swag did.
because you probably text him 88 times.
No, that was all him. He brought
Hey,
it
the
up to
Beavs
me.
are on. Come on. Final Four.
You say it in such a defensive tone as if everybody in America
Yes.
was watching that soccer match, and I was the idiot.
I was glued to the Elite Eight women's volleyball Ducks this weekend. Had a great valiant run.
Were you?
Made it to the regional final.
They had a spike. They missed
just-
a wide open
There
spike.
was a spike right there.
They
If you
would have
just
had it.
Spike it 2 feet to the
Oh.
left. You win the game. You spike it a foot to the right.
You got to spike those,
And
fucker.
they didn't spike it.
Come on.
If you don't spike it, you're not going to win. And so they're going to go into the offseason, work on their spiking, and we're going to improve that going into the Big Ten next year.
I'm going to try to outmaneuver Swag on the sports of the second to third tier sports.
Yeah, what'd you get on the docket this weekend?
Bass fishing.
Yeah, look at that.
Ah.
Somebody catch a big
Taking
one.
a little Grant Thornton Invitational. Was
Troy-
that fun to see the LPGA Tour and the PGA Tour playing together?
You mean the men's side and then the LPGA? Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw that. Yeah, I saw some highlights.
That happened. I didn't watch any of that this weekend.
Lydia Ko, right?
Yes, she was there.
Yeah. Did she win?
No.
Who did with Jason Day again? I watched her hit a couple putts. Whoever that lady is.
Oh, yeah, she did play with Day. I didn't think they won.
Come on, Swigard.
Wait a minute. You tried to quiz me on the sports nobody watched, and then I told you the right answer on the sport that nobody watched. You were confused and
Said
you
no.
forgot.
That didn't happen.
Did you watch that? Yes, I did.
Yeah, I have no clue who won that. I didn't watch any of that this weekend.
Ko and Day. There you
Okay,
go.
there you go.
I don't think anybody watched.
I'm going to go ahead and take the blame for this opening segment, bringing up my faulty headphones in the Winterhawks. It just sent us on a wrong track, and now we're mentioning random sports that nobody really cares about.
I'm
So
going to black sheep blame Swag.
I'm going to go right hand up on this one. I started the ball down this hill. This one's on me.
Okay.
I'm going to take the ownership of this one. Let's just move on.
You want to keep talking about Otani, or do you want to talk about something else?
I thought you had a story about Cannon Beach this weekend.
Yeah.
Story.
Yeah, you had it in your
That's
tease
a
last
new
night. You
thing.
teased. I've
Did
been
you
waiting
or
all
did
night.
You not, did or did not this thing happen to you at Cannon Beach?
Oh, did I text that?
Yes.
You did.
I did not mean to text that. I meant to delete that and then hit the text. That's
Well,
my
now
bad.
I want to know the story.
No, we need an answer.
Yeah. Did you or did you not get robbed at Cannon Beach?
Hey, I did the math this morning. I don't know if I did. I feel like I did though.
Was it on the rental place or something?
No.
You get hosed on the price?
You got tourist trapped? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it kind of felt like a bit of a tourist
Holiday
trap.
gouged?
It was it's a restaurant. I can't really describe the restaurant because I don't want to out them. But we went to a local spot.
Yes.
Didn't seem very high priced whatsoever. In fact, it was split between a bar and a restaurant. It's like, divey bar and
Seems like a run-of-the-mill place at the beach.
yeah. A beach place. And I ordered a pretty mediocre to not very good patty melt with tots. And my wife just got a plate of wings. Just flat out chicken wings.
I'll give you under $25.
That'd be a good guess. Oh, and 2 beers.
Okay. Give you about $30.
Two
each
oyster
meal.
shooters. That's it.
Okay.
That's the full order right there.
All right, now I think we're up to
Now
about
you're into the
35.
$45
45?
range.
For
Yeah.
that, for the quality of place that you're describing, the
Yes.
visual of it,
Yes.
I'll give you 10 to $12 for each plate of food, $5 or so for each beer, because I would hope they're not the Moda Center.
It was $63.
yeah,
And it was not itemized, and
Now, did they already include the gratuity on there?
we're not sure, but there was a tip section on the receipt.
Well, that's because how the receipts are printed out. It's pre-programmed for restaurants in the thing, but usually there's a notice like on the menu or
No,
a
there was no notice.
card on the thing
was no
says we will
notice.
include an
Nothing.
18% or 20%
No.
gratuity.
Nothing.
$63 is a hair steep. That's a bit-
I about
Mm.
choked just on my own saliva reading that.
for 2 plates of food, a couple of beers, and some oyster shooters.
And it took about 15 minutes to get the IST on the television. That was kind of bothersome.
Come on, let's go.
ABC? What channel's ABC? I'm like, I
couldn't
don't know.
find-
I don't live here.
Channel
Find
2.
God, it's one of the most main sports channels there is.
Everybody's got to have ABC. That's a big no-no, though, on the receipt. Like, you have to have the items listed on the receipt.
It's not itemized. I can tell you right now, my melt was $16. The wings, if we went large, which I don't think she did, but if they gave her the large portion of wings, that was $15. And then the oyster shooters might have been
$5.
$12.
Oh
No, oyster shooters are not $5. They're
Oh, I was going to say $5 each.
Oh yeah, about that. 5 to 6. So I'll say 12 just to go high end.
It's adding up quickly, man.
And then
Yeah.
two
A
beers
pricey
couldn't have been
joint.
more than $7, right? They couldn't have charged me a pint for more than $7.
I would not imagine that they would.
Mm.
So maybe you didn't get robbed. Now that you're describing some of these prices, I have
Yeah.
beef with. Is this like or is this like a thanks Biden thing? What are we doing here? How is this so
I have no
expensive?
idea.
It seems like how many wings came on the plate of wings?
8.
Eight? Yeah, that's
For $15?
If that's a large.
Yeah, it's
12 should be a large.
See, that's what I thought. I
Yeah.
think 8 is a small, and
Yeah.
if that's the case, it was $10.
because then if you're sharing the wings, you got 4 each, or
Sure.
5 to 3. You make it up as you go.
Yeah, no. So it's like
That's-
$10. I'm still confused, and I didn't want to like go, hey.
You don't want to be that guy. It's
I
a
didn't
tough
want to be
spot.
that guy, but I kind of did. $63 for an outing at a mediocre run-of-the-mill beach restaurant?
Can
What
I
are we
run-
doing?
Run through some of these prices here. I don't really quite follow the math on how we got to 63.
You didn't even give me a killer sunset. It was like a hurricane at Cannon Beach on Saturday night. It was crazy.
They
Rainy
say
beach
they
weather.
go to the Oregon
Oh.
coast for the storms in the winter.
Friday was gorgeous. We had a beautiful sunset, blue sky. Wife's like, hey, maybe we should do a fire tomorrow. I'm like, I don't know if that's going to happen.
Probably not.
Woke up.
Nope, we're staying inside today.
Our glass was bending. We could see our glass bending because of how strong the wind was. I couldn't even let my dog go on the beach. We went on the beach one time the whole trip.
Yeah, that's the tough part when you take the dog to the beach that you want to go out and run, but then when it's that bad, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
So that's the benefit of not having the dog at the beach, because then you get one of those bad days and it's like, all right, we feel no pressure to go outside. We're going to open up a book or watch a movie and just hang out and look outside at the ocean.
It looked like the final scene of Point Break.
Yeah.
As he escapes Keanu Reeves for the final time to go die in the ocean. It looked exactly like that all of Saturday. It's great. And then I got robbed on Saturday
And
night.
then you got robbed
Yeah.
at dinner on
And
Saturday
then the
night.
Chiefs will tell you they got robbed on Sunday night.
Oh, I can't wait to talk about that. Finally, the team is unlikable. You know, they always say like the true test of character is in really difficult circumstance. Crisis, yeah. Did you guys have a big takeaway from Mahomes in that moment? Like the good game to Josh Allen. We'll get to the audio of that. I don't know. I just kind of find like, oh, look at you. Everything's not going your way, and you're a whiny little bitch.
Yeah.
I wish Josh Allen would have responded in midfield. I don't care.
You beat me in 13 seconds. You robbed me of a Super Bowl in 13 seconds.
You think that your year's been hard? My coach mentioned 9/11
He said we
in a
need to-
team meeting.
We need to be more like the
He's
terrorists.
pro Al Qaeda. I've been dealing with that all week. I'm sorry you got a bad call. We're 6-6.
That
My
wasn't a
coach might
bad
get
call.
fired.
The ref's actually
Why
paying
don't you
attention, doing
shut
their
your
job.
mouth. You've won 2 Super Bowls.
I would've
Stop
loved-
complaining.
I would have loved to hear him say some of what you just said. You've had a bad year.
Oh, yeah?
I'm not even in the playoffs right now.
My coach was rooting for the bad guys on 9/11 because
My
of
OC got
communication.
fired halfway through the season.
God. Let's talk. I want to start there. We'll get to the Otani. I don't know how to do the show today. I text you guys the show. I got no text response. And because I don't know how to organize today, the Otani thing. How massive was the Otani thing for everybody?
I mean, you better hope he pitches for $700 million. That's all I got to say.
Boy, that was more than I thought he'd get.
That's a lot of money for
I
a
said
hitter.
6 like months ago, and then I saw like 4 and 5s, and I'm like, well, I was way wrong.
Better hope they reconstruct that
Told
elbow.
you, if it's just about winning and money, he's going to the Dodgers.
Well, that's
And
too bad. He chose the wrong team.
It's going to be a bummer to watch him choke in the playoffs with the rest of the Dodgers.
I wonder. We'll get to it.
Okay.
I wonder if they have an ultimate plan for him.
An ultimate plan.
And for $700 million, you better have a plan. That's a lot of money.
Win a World Series. That's the plan. Let's start in the NFL. We'll get to the Otani stuff. He signs with the Dodgers for
This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
All right, welcome back in. I met during Hood to Coast, I met one of our listeners. He's a big Chiefs fan. He was wearing a Chiefs shirt, actually.
Shout out to the Chiefs. I think that I don't know if it's the same listener, but we had a listener texting in on Friday saying they were going to be at the game yesterday.
Oh, well, if that was the listener, that's a pretty awesome experience.
Good game to go to. Don't like the outcome, but a good game to go to.
Sure. I mean, for all the Cowboy-Eagle talk last week, it was kind of weird and felt a little odd to see Chiefs-Bills
Still
not
one of
be
the best sporting environments I've ever been to.
Kansas City.
Arrowhead.
Yeah.
Or whatever they call it now, but it's always be Arrowhead. So.
Well, the Chiefs are struggling a little bit here.
Yeah, they're gripping.
They're gripping. They're holding tight. They got a one-game lead on the old Denver Broncos in the AFC West. They've allowed the Broncos, who have won, I think, 6 of the last 7 games, to sneak back into this thing.
And have a head-to-head win over them. Have they played twice or once?
I
don't
think
know.
they played the one time.
Let's see.
I think they have one more matchup.
They do not.
Okay, all
So
right.
they won the first one, I'm assuming. Yeah, they won the first one
Okay.
19-8 and then lost 24-9. So they split.
Okay, there we go. So we split that one. You'd go to other tiebreakers if they finish with the same. But the point is, Buffalo in a desperate spot, taking on Kansas City. In this game, it kind of comes down to the wire. So, Swag, you had said before the show, we have the Kelsey play by Romo Nance. We have that one. So here was the pivotal play. It was an amazing play in real time. Felt like you had seen, like, you know, one of the cooler plays in the NFL season so far. Here was the Romo Nance call.
They came after him on the last one. I don't think they'll sit back consistently.
Here they come again. There's a flag down at the line of scrimmage as the pass is to an open Travis Kelce, who flings it back over to Tony. My goodness, this is going for a touchdown.
This is not a design play. Kelsey's always
Tony.
looks around as
What
if he's a
happened to
quarterback,
him?
and he does this. And I can't believe it. I think it's coming back.
Number 19, offense, lined up in the neutral zone.
Wow.
5-yard penalty.
At a Cleveland Heights High School in Ohio, an old quarterback threw a perfect spiral for what looked like an improbable touchdown.
It just can't happen. These receivers can't get out of the way of hurting the team too many times at the end of the game.
So there's Tony Romo and Jim Nance on CBS.
I think Romo had the same reaction we all had. Like, wait, what? Did he? Huh? How? I know that's what I yelled at my TV when I saw it. Like, did that really just happen? Did he throw that ball?
I was screaming. I couldn't believe that play had happened.
I was also speechless. It was nuts.
Well, they call offsides on the offense, which doesn't get called a whole lot. And then after that, the game basically ends. The Chiefs can't capitalize, and Buffalo kneels down. Here was the 50-yard line meetup between Mahomes and Josh Allen.
Honest call I've ever seen, man. Offensive offsides in that moment, man. Terrible.
So he says, good game. Josh Allen says, good game, Patrick. And he says, that's one of the worst calls I've ever seen offsides. Effing terrible.
You can't call that right there.
He had to be held back on the sideline. And for the first time, maybe ever, I think yesterday, we have all the post-game clips too, because they kept ranting and raving about this in the post-game with Andy Reid and Mahomes.
They would not shut up.
Dirt, I actually felt, I found them to be unlikable.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. First and foremost, this penalty was called on 2nd and 10. Okay, 2nd and 10 with 1:12 to go in the game. Is it a tough one to see because that was one of the coolest plays all of us have ever witnessed? Yeah, that sucks, man. That was an awesome play, and it sucks that it couldn't stand. If you didn't want it to get called back, then don't line up offsides. It's a very simple equation. They also had 2nd and 15, 3rd and 15, and 4th and 15 to try and pick up a first down and continue the game. It was 20-17. They just needed to get into field goal range to have a chance to tie it. They couldn't do it. So it's not like this play ended the game. They had 3 more shots to go get the first down. The part of it that rubbed me the wrong way the most, and I have been incredibly consistent in this. You can go back and listen to takes from like last December and January and February when we talked about all these calls. Does anybody remember how Kansas City won the AFC title game last year? It was tied 20-20 with 8 seconds to go. Patrick Mahomes scrambled near the out-of-bounds line, was hit maybe a little late. Maybe.
Right
on that line.
Yeah, right on that line of you could have let it go or you could have called it.
At about the 40 to 45-yard line. You're not kicking a field goal from there, so they got the 15-yard penalty, kicked a field goal, they go to the Super Bowl. Does anybody remember how the Kansas City Chiefs won the Super Bowl? The game was tied 35-35. They had a 3rd and 8 with about 1:50 to go in that game, and they called a holding on James Bradbury. And I said, look, it's ticky-tacky. I hate when those kind of calls happen in those moments, but if
he did hold him.
If you don't want to get called for the penalty, then don't hold him on the play.
Mm-hmm.
They won the game because that gave them an automatic first down. Philly had like 1 timeout left. They ran the clock out. They kicked a game-winning field goal. This team won an AFC championship game and a Super Bowl with a slight helping breeze of officiating at the end of both of those games. And the first time that things go wrong for them, the first time a call that's a little ticky-tacky goes against them, they stomp and whine and complain the entire postgame.
Yeah.
I'm with you. This is easily the most unlikable they've ever been.
I was just kind of dumbfounded by it. It's one thing to be upset and maybe in the moment, you're screaming at the official a little bit on the sideline. Eventually you let it go. You say good game to Allen. You give the Bills their due for making plays when they needed to in that game.
Allen was terrific yesterday.
He was. He threw a really stupid interception,
Yes,
but
he
him
did.
and Lamar are just doing that. They're just going to have every game, and Tua. I'll throw those 3 guys, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Tua, every game. They're going to have one stupid pass that makes you go, why did you throw that there?
What is going on?
And then they'll look godlike the rest of the game.
Yes.
But, what I was dumbfounded by was Mahomes played at Texas Tech. And not like the guy was conditioned coming from just winning every game. He was used to throwing for 500 yards and losing in double overtime.
Yeah, 58-55.
I guess winning for your first 5 years of your career just changes a person because, man, it's one thing to be upset. It's one thing to say this almost never gets called. By the way, I think it was called in the Philly-Dallas game on Philadelphia.
Yes, it was. Kelsey, I believe, at center on one of their QBs or their Philly push,
His head
whatever.
was ahead of the ball. And so anyways, it was called in the next game on the NFL schedule. I think it's one to be mad. I think it's another to be this. This was whiny. This was I'm mad at my you're mad at your dad, you're not mad at me type energy. His receivers are not very good. They make stupid plays every game. Kelsey's his best target, and Kelsey is, he's still really good, but you can kind of see a little physical drop off with him. He struggled this year. He's been playing with some injury stuff. And I think you're seeing the Chiefs, who were known as this offensive juggernaut when Mahomes took over. Dirt, I think you're seeing them realize how hard it is for them to win a game against almost anybody.
Right.
And that felt more like a lashing out, hey, we needed this win very desperately.
We're 8-5.
Even though their schedule the rest of the way sucks, go look at it. But it just, I don't know. It was very whiny, and I actually felt for the first time Chiefs came off very unlikable.
Yeah, that was my takeaway too, and it was not. If they go into that game last night and they're 10-2, and the division is basically locked up, and they're just kind of you're in a shouting match for home field advantage, kind of in the AFC. I don't think you have this reaction after the game. They're reacting the way they're reacting because they're 8-5. They're only a game up in the division, which would be unthinkable at the start of the year to say that the Kansas City Chiefs wouldn't win the division, that the Denver Broncos would. Nobody would have predicted that.
After that start, if you would have gambled on the Broncos, the value you got on that bet.
After the first month of the season, it'd have been like plus 20,000 for them to win the AFC West. But things are getting tight, man. They're struggling. They look human. We've seen them bleed. I know they've lost big games and they've lost a Super Bowl and they've had some tough moments over the last handful of years, but they've been in the AFC Championship game every year Mahomes has been a starting quarterback there. And this is the first year that you look at him and you say, I don't know, man. Their issues at wide receiver have not resolved themselves. They've been a problem. Their guys can't catch the football in big moments for them. Kadarius Toney line up off sides in a pivotal moment. Such an easy fix. I didn't play a lot of receiver in my life, but I did briefly play wide receiver in Pop Warner football. And the first thing that they teach you when you get outside, what do? You point at the official and you say, hey, am I on the line of scrimmage?
Right.
Do I need to move up? Do I need to move back? Am I okay? Okay, I'm okay. Let's hike the football. It's the first thing you do when you get out there, and he didn't do it in the biggest moment of the game.
Reed said usually the official lets us know this is embarrassing. The NFL official actually got interviewed in the post game. And he basically said, when it's that egregious, I'm not doing anything.
I'm not helping you out. They're like looking at other things. You realize he's offsides. I'm not going to run in and tap him on the shoulder and tell him you got to move back 2 yards.
No, he said the head was blocking the ball. The ref said I couldn't even see the ball because he was blocking it, which Kadarius Toney.
What are you doing? Line up on sides.
He is a bonehead.
Yes,
man.
he is. He's a problem.
I want to carry this over. We'll get to the Heisman. Dylan Gabriel is an Oregon Duck. We'll talk about that as well. Shohei Otani, $700 million. Hello. Ooh. And the IST championship. I want to carry this over with NFL talk of who is the best team in the AFC? How are we viewing the landscape of the NFL? We'll do that next. But first, Swag with the sports update.
Now, Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Brought to you by Vulcan Design and Construction. Check out their award-winning outdoor living designs or schedule your free design consultation at vulcandc.com. First on The Fan, the Oregon Ducks hoping to find more transfer magic at QB the way they did with Bo Nix, who finished third in the Heisman voting. This after Dylan Gabriel committed to the Oregon Ducks over the weekend. He comes over from Oklahoma, where he threw for 3,660 yards and 30 touchdowns with the Sooners this past season. The Eagles no longer the number one seed in the NFC. Cowboys continued their home dominance with a 33-13 rout of their division rival, holding Jalen Hurts and company without an offensive touchdown, thanks to 3 fumbles recovered by the Dallas defense. Patrick Mahomes still fuming over an offensive offsides call that wiped out a go-ahead touchdown in the final 2 minutes of their game, allowing Buffalo to hold on for the 20-17 win. It's a Monday night doubleheader this evening. We'll start with the Titans in Miami facing the Dolphins. 5:15 on ESPN. The Fish now 14-point favorites. At the same time on KATU Channel 2, the Giants and Packers in the Big Apple. Green Bay a 6-point favorite at the Spirit Mountain Casino Sportsbook. Blazers still without Jeremy Grant. He's yet to be cleared out of the NBA concussion protocol, but DeAndre Ayton's been upgraded to questionable with his sore knee. Portland visits the Clippers tonight, 7:30 on Root Sports Northwest. LA 12.5-point favorites. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigart from Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Get in the game at Spirit Mountain Casino. Watch and wager on all the pro and college action. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
Your favorite fan shows are on YouTube. Mash the subscribe button and like us for live streaming video. Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Dirt and I were just talking about why we didn't collectively Sprague the line on the Saints to bludgeon the Panthers, who are the worst team I've maybe seen in my entire life.
They are so bad, man. Firing a coach. Bryce Young looks lost. Dude. I feel bad for that dude. I'm already punting on his NFL career, and half of it's not even his fault.
I'm not. I don't feel bad at all. He's going to get $20 million. He's a bust.
It just sucks that you don't have he has nothing. You have nothing to work with. No, but you need something to work with as a quarterback. Who's his best wide receiver? Adam Thielen?
You're not wrong, but I watched when they got to that red zone. He had moments, and he just doesn't throw the football. I don't think he can see.
That's part of it for sure, but a good offensive line could help with that, and he doesn't have that. They fired his head coach. Adam Thielen, who's 74 years old, is supposed to be his top target. They don't have a first-round draft pick next year. They would have the number 1 overall pick in the draft. Think about that. They could have drafted Marvin Harrison Jr. or a legit left tackle. No, they don't have that pick. No. It goes to Chicago. They have no other way to improve their roster with elite talent unless you're hitting on guys in the 3rd or 4th round.
Big win for the old Cowboys last night over the Philadelphia Eagles. MVP Jalen Hurts.
Not so much.
Oh.
Weird.
Am I still a racist for that take, or are we cool now? We okay there?
Well, I don't think you were actually being racist by not picking Jalen Hurts.
He's not
MVP.
a top 3 quarterback in the NFL, and to insinuate otherwise is a laughable opinion.
Well, it's interesting when everything he's not like Mahomes in this way, but he had a lot of great things going for him around him, and when those things aren't going so well,
yeah,
he looks like a normal quarterback. How about that?
He's been crazy with the turnovers this year, too.
He's got the 4th most.
Yeah, Cowboys fans want to rant about that, the Dak Prescott turnover stuff, and he had the lines in training camp, and we chuckled, said, I'm not going to throw 10 picks this year. Give him credit. He's cut down on the turnovers. That was a major issue for Dak, and last year he was criticized every week when he would have those turnover numbers, and they would lose games sometimes because of it. Jalen Hurts cannot stop turning the football over. We criticized Josh Allen for it, and there's just something about him. I don't know what it is, but he's got to stop the turnovers.
They're at Seattle. That's an interesting game. Seattle gave San Francisco a bit of a fight for a couple quarters before they ultimately got Drew locked. And San Francisco ended up pulling away and beating them by double digits. Big win for Dallas. They go to Buffalo. I'm looking forward to that game.
Yes.
There are 6 teams in the AFC, the 6th seed down to the 11th seed, all 7-6. I'm asking legitimately here. Did you just snort?
I did. The bottom of the
little AFC snort.
The bottom of the AFC, man. What are we doing down there?
Well, the team that's in the 6th seed is the worst team of all the teams at 7-6. That's the craziest thing. We just watched them lose to the Patriots and the Cardinals.
And they got tiebreakers over the Colts, over Houston, over Denver, over Cincinnati,
over Buffalo. It's insane.
What are we doing here?
Pittsburgh's going to get into the playoffs, and they're the worst team to ever make it, maybe ever.
For the love of God, don't let them in.
But I'm asking a serious question here. What are you doing with the AFC? I asked my gambling co-host this, and she said Ravens, and I counteracted the Ravens, and she in real time was like, oh, crap, that's right. Oh, yeah, that's true. Oh, yeah, that's true. How would you gamble the AFC right now? Take gambling away if you want. How do you view the AFC landscape?
Yeah, I have a very strong opinion on the NFC, and I'm not backing down on it despite what Dallas showed last night. I think the 49ers are the best team in the NFL, and I think they're going to win the NFC if they stay healthy. I just don't think there's anybody in that conference, especially if they have to go to San Francisco, that can beat them. I feel very confident in that opinion. In the AFC, I'm blindfolding myself and throwing a dart at the board, and wherever it lands, I'm picking. I like Baltimore. Do I feel like Baltimore is unbeatable? God, no.
No.
Dude, I like Miami. A fun story. They're playing tonight. They're probably going to kill Tennessee, but they need a quality win. They don't really have any. They're just beating up on bad teams. Outside of that, Kansas City doesn't have any wide receivers. Jacksonville's a bit fraudulent, and their quarterback is dealing with a high ankle sprain. He somehow played this weekend. The Browns have Joe Flacco at quarterback, but their defense is really good. Yeah. You mentioned Pittsburgh. If they go to the playoffs, I might boycott that game. It's going to be so bad.
No, you won't.
Please, no. If Denver finds a way in, yeah, they're playing good defense, but I'm not picking Russell Wilson to go into Baltimore or one of these places and win a playoff game.
Why not? Defense is they've turned that defense around.
Their defense is playing good.
Dirt. They gave up 70 points this year in a game.
Yes, they did.
And I'd say the last 5-6 weeks, it feels like they've played as a top 10 unit on that side of the ball.
And the one time they played a team in the playoffs here over the last couple of weeks, they lost. Every other team that they've beaten is not a team that's in the playoffs. Outside of Kansas City, they did win that game, but Buffalo's not a playoff team right now. Minnesota's, I don't believe, is a playoff team. At least they shouldn't be, but they might be. Cleveland is borderline. The Chargers are not going to make the playoffs. They go to Detroit this weekend. I'm fascinated by that game for Denver. I don't buy into them as a true Super Bowl contender. I'm not saying they can't make the playoffs, but when it comes to a AFC playoff game in Miami or in Baltimore, or hell, even in Kansas City, despite the way their offense looks right now, I'm not picking them to win that game.
Nico Collins got banged up, didn't play with the Jets, and then Stroud leaves in a monsoon-like atmospheric river rain in New York, and the Texans just get annihilated by Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
The Colts lost by 20. They're somehow still stuck at the 7 seed. By the way, they have tiebreakers over Buffalo, Cincinnati, and Denver. The Colts do, so like keep that in mind if Buffalo keeps rolling here. Buffalo might be one of the best bets of all the teams. They're the 11 seed right now, and they host Dallas.
Their schedule's brutal.
It's not great, but I don't know how. We were talking about this last Friday. I was kind of looking at Kansas City going, oh, they're only a point favorite. How about that? Mahomes at home as a point favorite. I'll take that.
Yeah.
They won that game. So I don't know how you sort out the AFC. I know everybody's kind of on this Baltimore thing. Baltimore blows big leads or plays down and plays with certain opponents that they shouldn't be messing with. And I think you saw that yesterday. The Rams are a fun little team, but they're not great.
No.
The AFC, I don't know if this is a clear-cut indication that the NFC is going to win the Super Bowl. San Francisco,
that's
Dallas.
how I feel. I think San Francisco's going to win the Super Bowl.
If they stay healthy?
Yeah, I just don't think there's anybody that's within shouting distance of them this year. They've played the two teams that are true contenders in the NFC, and what happened both times they played them?
Yeah. I mean, that's true.
It was a bloodbath. They just went to Philly and dominated them.
They did.
I can't get the Dallas game from earlier this year out of my head. I just think they're head and shoulders above everybody else. I will say I think all the pressure, though, is on the shoulders of Baltimore. Like, they've had some years where they've been really good. We're all Lamar guys here. I'm glad that he got paid. He deserved the MVP a couple of years ago. The field is wide open. Like, if you would have said coming into the year, Joe Burrow, out. Buffalo dealing with all sorts of stuff right now. They might not even make the playoffs. Kansas City doesn't have a wide receiver that can catch a football, and they're whining about bad calls.
We're on team not confident in Kansas City, right? Like that Mahomes scary stuff isn't quite there anymore with their targets.
Not at all, man. If you're Baltimore, this is your year. There's been like a Moses parting of the seas. Your primary contender in the AFC is Miami.
And Miami going to Baltimore in January for a playoff game?
That's a game you got to win, man. You got to win. Because Burrow's going to be likely back and healthy next year. Cincinnati's not going anywhere in the grand scheme. Kansas City can find some new receivers in the draft. They can upgrade there. Buffalo's always going to be in the mix with Josh Allen. They might fire their head coach if they don't make the playoffs. Like, they're not going anywhere. This is the year where the field is open for you.
Go back to a zig and zag last Wednesday. I asked you, and I think you zigged. Flacco and the Browns' most dangerous wild card team. I think it's looming.
It's looming.
They'd get Jacksonville in the rematch down in I'd pick them to beat them again.
How do you think Jets fans are feeling? I know they won yesterday, but watching Flacco do that, like, hey, that's the same team as us. They run the football and they play defense, and they sign Flacco and they're winning football games.
Their coach is offensive coach. It helps when that happens. Swag, who would you pick in the AFC right now? Would you just go chalk with Baltimore, or is there a team below Baltimore you'd pick?
We'll see if the Dolphins come out, take care of business. I want to see them play the Cowboys, but right now I would lean towards Miami, especially if they can get home field advantage.
The one team that I would say don't sleep on, and it's funny because I've gone back and forth on this team a ton. If Buffalo wins this weekend,
that's what I'm saying.
If Buffalo gets in, they
should have beaten Philly 2 weeks ago in that overtime rainy game. They should have won that game. They go on the road to Kansas City this weekend. They win. Really tough place. Kansas City just doesn't lose home games. And now you get Dallas at home. They close the end of the season at Miami. Like, they got to get in, but that's a team with Josh Allen that I would look at and say they're starting to play some good football.
If you can win 3 of your final 4, and if maybe the 1-2 seeds are locked up, the final game it's for you. Miami doesn't care.
Yeah.
Dallas at home, you can win that game. At the Chargers and Easton Stick, yep. Patriots at home, yep. I mean, they have a real shot here to pull off maybe 4 in a row to end. And of all the teams we're talking about, it might be the team at the 11 seed in Buffalo.
Are we buying a futures ticket on the Bills? Am I doing that right now?
I would. It's 14-1 to win the AFC.
That's pretty good numbers.
You want them to win the Super Bowl? 16-1.
I don't know if I'm going to go that far, but I like that AFC bet.
Well, if you're willing to bet that they win the AFC, why would you not sprinkle a couple bucks on a 16-1 ticket to win the Super Bowl?
Yeah, good odds right there.
Rematch of the old 90s Super Bowls with the Cowboys and Buffalo Bills.
There you go. Cowboys and Bills. Niners and Bills would be fun. Dude, that's the Chris Berman Super Bowl. You used to predict that every year, and you never got it. Now we might get Niners and Bills.
Coming up next, man, this was a massive story on The Fan.
the original rough shakers.
This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Big news in Eugene this weekend. We'll get to that coming up at the top of the hour. Still got the old Otani news to talk about. $700 million.
A lot of money. Sounds like a Bobby Bonilla type of deal, too. A lot of it's deferred. He's going to be paid for basically the rest of his life.
He's also going to get less than half of that.
Yeah, if you're choosing states to sign in, California is a tough one tax-wise. Would have helped to go to the Marlins, but I don't know if the Marlins are willing to spend $700 million. Can I give you – are we going to talk about that here? Because I got a stat that blew me away. Or do you want to holster that?
I was going to hold it for a longer conversation.
Well, whenever we get to it, I got a stat that blew me away, and it's gonna piss you off.
It's going to piss me off?
It's going to piss you off.
Just me or Swag?
It should piss everybody off.
Okay.
That like it's going to frustrate you.
Okay. Is it the fact that they have 3 players making more than an entire
It's not even a baseball
Marlins?
stat. It's
Really?
not even. It's just about $700 million and what you could buy for $700 million.
19 bowling alleys.
Do the math on that one.
It's things like that.
Yeah.
Swag, I got privy to some information this weekend before anybody else.
Oh, look at you.
I know.
Insider Sprague.
Insider Sprague is here, and I'm here to tell you.
Dual cell phones going?
What? Oh, yeah,
Dual
yeah.
cell phones
Well, if
going?
I had that, my wife would think I'm cheating on her.
Yeah, it's not a good thing to have that.
Didn't have the Shefty?
If I was Schefter's wife, I'd be wondering. Who texts you on that?
else?
GMs. Just GMs.
Yeah, who else is on that phone, Shefty?
Definitely not those gals that I go and visit when I'm on the road. No, but in all seriousness, I got to see the pregnancy maternal photos of one Anteater Johnson this weekend.
How did I look? Did I look good? How did I look, huh?
We had a lot of like bare feet and jeans on bed photos.
Well, I'm not wearing shoes. I'm in my own house, man. I thought we were going to crop the feet out. Don't put my feet in the pictures.
I think my favorite of the photos that I got to enjoy, because I've taken some of these kinds of photos, is just like the awkwardness of, he was told, like, hey, now look down and look at her longingly.
Look that way. Look to the right.
Oh, so we had an actual photographer come? And
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
A member of the Sprague family came and took photos.
A house call. We had a house call.
It was a house call. They came over on Friday.
Yep.
And it was a whole thing. It was a
was.
very stressful morning in the house, getting everything ready. Everything had to be organized and cleaned
I
up.
can't imagine how unenthused Dirt was to have to go through this.
Yeah, if you looked at the photos, you wouldn't be able to tell.
Hey, I was in it to win it, baby. I'm in it, babe. I was ready. I was looking
What
around.
did you spike your coffee with?
I was.
What edible did you pop?
In a very loving mood, okay? There's nothing more uncomfortable than being somebody who does not like having their picture taken. I don't like my picture being taken.
Yeah, me
Yeah, I'm
And
right
then
there with you.
Having to have that many pictures taken. There were moments and I was just like, do you really need me in this one? She looks great. She's in sunlight. She's holding the belly. Like, that's good. You got her. She's right there. Boom. Snap the photo. I'm going to go sit out in the living room with the dog.
I think what I love, and I heard some comments about the dog too, like, man, he really loves that dog.
Yes, he does.
That's
dog,
what I heard.
man.
Oh, that was his first kid.
It's my dog.
What I love the most is you host a baby shower, you take maternity photos, and you're honest about how you feel on these things on the show, and then the moment actually happens and everybody gets back, I don't know, I couldn't tell. It seemed like he was really into it. And I'm like, yeah, he's really good at doing that.
This is the way it works, all right? I know what I'm doing here.
You should see him when we talk soccer.
You should hear the comments I make in commercial breaks.
I brought up the in-season tournament. You see the enthusiasm in that segment. I've seen it before.
If you can fake enthusiasm for the in-season tournament, you can fake enthusiasm for anything.
That's kind of what I figured, yeah.
It was, very awkward, very uncomfortable. I did enjoy what I was tweeting a couple of weeks ago about the baby shower happening. I had a bunch of people tweet me and said, why were you at a baby shower? And I just wanted to respond like, hey, I knocked a stripper up. What do you want from me? Why do you think I'm at a baby shower, you morons? Think I'm just going to them on the week? I just choose to do that on Conference Championship Saturday. You know what sounds like a lot of fun? Let's go to a baby shower today and open up some gifts. It sounds like a great time.
You should have responded, thanks for listening to the radio show. I hope your life is going well.
Yeah, thanks for following me on social media and clearly not paying attention to anything that's happening in my life.
Why do people follow people that they don't?
I don't know.
Have you noticed this?
I don't know.
We get DMs from media members. Hey, Just wanted to share my content so you could share it. Do you share my content?
Exactly.
Do you offer me to
quid
come on
pro
your
quo.
show and
No.
pub my stuff?
No, never happens. Never
It's
happens.
unbelievable. Hey, we have a new news guy in town. We'd love to get him on your radio show. Well, how about you put me on TV
Sure.
first?
Yes.
When are we coming in to do the weather?
Yeah, no kidding.
You give me a segment on TV, I'll help you out, man. That's how this goes.
Legacy media. It's unbelievable. What are we
But really,
doing?
though, how did I look? Did I look good? Did I look good? How did I look?
One photo was a weird angle, is what I would say. The others look great.
It's a lot of weird angles.
Yet
there.
some sunlight was popping in
Yeah.
on the old bed. I was a little disappointed. I didn't see all of the photos.
How arty were we? Black and white, like really going arty here?
Not the
Or-
ones that I saw. The ones I saw, they just look tasteful. Is how I would just. It's very tasteful.
Tasteful nudity, man.
I can see.
It's a hell of a thing.
Like honestly,
exposed belly, or is the belly covered?
Oh, belly's out.
her belly's out, and she's loving
Bert's
every
belly?
minute. Of it.
I was see now. I brought that up.
I
and
was disappointed by that actually.
I was shot down. I said we should go belly to belly here. It'd be a great picture. We could send it to everybody and have a good chuckle. And that was shot out of the sky immediately.
Well, sometimes the guy will be forced into slight nudity for these photos. You know, it's like the real us, soul to soul, body to body,
skin to skin.
And I didn't see naked dirt, so I was a
No.
little disappointed with that. I want some tasteful nudes, but there was definitely some photos that.
That's for OnlyFans.
That's the OnlyFans page. Yeah, $9.99. You can see my feet and my nipples.
That's no, I don't want to go back to that conversation. There's definitely some good photos, like you could see. And I don't mean a slight by dirt here. There was one really good one of just her that I could see framed in the old house, her and Teddy Ball game. Yeah. And Dirt's probably in the back like, this looks better anyway.
This is good. You look good. You don't need me here. You're perfect. You look great.
Get me out of this.
Yeah, she knew what she was doing. She had like a blue steel look, and I'm just like, I'm awkward.
Isn't that the worst when they know exactly what kind of face to make and they know how it looks and they're like, now you do something. You're like,
look lovingly. Like, I don't know. That's not a good look right there.
well, she looks great. I have a double chin. Don't worry about that. Okay.
Yeah, be kind to me on the photo edits, all right? Let's scrub some stuff out of there.
Was my sister-in-law bossy?
No, she was perfect. She was wonderful.
Okay.
We had no complaints. She made us chuckle a couple of times, which is good. You got to kind of ease the tension.
She made you chuckle.
She did. I had a good, really funny line, too. There was a line, and we were on the bed, and she said, all right, you got to move like all the way in there. You got to put it all the way, something like that, of kind of a sexual innuendo joke.
Yeah.
And I said, that's how we got here in the first place. I thought that was a pretty good one-liner right
Did she
there.
laugh or feel uncomfortable?
She chuckled.
Okay.
She gave a chuckle.
And she's an interesting personality type. Makes sexual jokes, and she just goes, ew.
Yeah, gross.
Guess she's got to be somebody she doesn't know to make sexual jokes, get her to laugh.
That's all it takes, man. I think people laugh at your jokes when you're paying them too. That's part of it.
That's a good point.
You're gonna chuckle and hey, I got a paycheck coming. We're good out of this.
That's a good point. Speaking of paying, Dylan Gabriel to Eugene. Big news over the weekend. Ducks got their future quarterback. Talk about that. Kickoff hour number 2. Dirt and Sprague on the Odyssey app and the Fan.
Hey, it's Suk, and let me tell you, there's a huge difference between
You just expose yourself as a horrible person.
You do your best.
An Odyssey station. Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, Ducks hoping to go visit the transfer portal well once again after Bo Nix finished third in the Heisman voting. The Ducks got the commitment from Dillon Gabriel coming over from Oklahoma. A season ago, he threw for 3,660 yards and 30 touchdowns. Eagles are no longer the number one seed in the NFC. Cowboys continued their home dominance, routing their division rival 33-13. They held the Eagles' offense without an offensive touchdown, forcing and recovering 3 fumbles. Patrick Mahomes, we'll see if he's calmed down yet after an offensive offsides call wiped out a go-ahead touchdown in the final 2 minutes. That allowed the Buffalo Bills to hold on in KC for a 20-17 victory. Doubleheader for Monday night at 5:15. The Titans are in Miami to take on the Dolphins on ESPN. The Fish are 14-point favorites. At the same time on KATU Channel 2, Giants and Packers from MetLife Stadium. Green Bay a 6-point favorite at the Spirit Mountain Casino Sportsbook. Blazers yet to get Jeremy Grant back out of the NBA concussion protocol tonight. However, DeAndre Ayton's been upgraded to questionable with his sore knee. Portland visits the Clippers. 7:30 tip on Root Sports Northwest LA, 12.5-point favorites. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigard from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Get in the game at Spirit Mountain Casino. Watch and wager on all the pro and college action. Learn more at SpiritMountain.com.
Every day, get the NFL headlines delivered straight to you. Follow the Best Football Show with Brian Baldinger on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. This is Dirt and Sprague.
Ours is a new love, but it burns very brightly, and it gets hot and sweaty and stanky. There's some stank on that love.
With Andy Dirt Johnson.
You think you're going to find somebody that's going to be like psyched to go to Applebee's with you every Friday night and hear the same football stories about how you rocked in high school? I did rock in high school football. You want to check tape?
And Brendan Sprague.
You know about the cup sizes now? We have different cups.
Yeah, I know about the cup.
You got the A, the C, the D. That's the biggest.
I know the D is the biggest. I based my whole life on knowing that the D is the biggest.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
All right, welcome back in. Hour number 2, Dirt and Sprague here on Portland Sports Leader 1080 The Fan, the Odyssey app, 99.5 HD2, and of course, YouTube.com/1080 The Fan. If you missed any of the first hour, you can check it out. The Service Patriots podcast at 1080thefan.com. Check out the latest special offers for our listeners at servicepatriots.com/thefan.
Had him in the fanny.
And the Vancouver Ford text line is 503-864-6326. They treat you right before, during, and after the sale. Visit them at vancouverford.com. We have a lot to get to in the second hour. We still haven't talked about Shohei Otani and $700 million.
A lot of money, man.
Wait, what are you flexing for? Like you spent
So
any of your own
happy.
money on that edition? God.
Just another star to not win with. How depressing is that going to be? This is it? Are we getting a guarantee? World Series guarantee?
Guarantee it.
Oh,
Next 2 years.
next
2 years?
Yeah, mark it down.
Oh, I almost want to. Oh, I'm going to make a personal bet. Hate you.
Braves aren't going anywhere, man.
Well, somebody tweeted last time that you had 3 players in the MVP conversation and one lineup was Win. Braves fans were like, literally us this year.
Literally.
3 of the top
Literally.
7
year.
people.
Yeah. That happened.
You went out and got Jared Kelnick.
Thank
Have
you.
at it.
Hey, you know what? You wait till Kelnick pops. The Mariner fans like, damn it, dude.
Hey, they've won a real World Series, Swigard. Easy with the trash talk.
Who did we beat on the way to that World Series?
I believe it was the Dodgers who had a payroll that was like $200 million more than Atlanta.
God, I can't wait for you to be disappointing. We'll get to the Otani thing. As you can see, it's a clear wedge on the show with all 3 of us. We hate each
Baseball's
other.
stupid. Nobody watches baseball anymore. Nobody cares. We don't need to talk about it.
Get you 3 of these. Remember that one, Swigar? That guy's gone.
That's right.
He's
dead.
moved.
That
Fired
guy's
up for
dead
Big
inside.
Ten basketball
That's
now.
right. We're a big school now, okay? Let's talk about Dillon Gabriel.
That gets you
the
3
actual team of mine that can buy players. Thank you, Dillon Gabriel.
Get you 3 of these guys. He's moved out of San Francisco. He's doing
right.
Fox News hits. They have poop on their sidewalk.
That's right. You see the drug use down here? There's tents everywhere, man. It's a cesspool.
No, we've delayed enough. Dillon Gabriel is an Oregon Duck. Bo Nix at the Heisman presentation in New York. Funny little anecdote from Dan Lanning on Bo Nix, the babysitter.
That was a good little story.
Giving his kids too much ice cream. Loved that. It We'll get to the Heisman. Heisman went about as what we expected, I would say.
No surprises.
So we'll get to all of those stories. But Dylan Gabriel choosing Oregon, maybe the biggest, if not the biggest quarterback on the portal market. And they'll replace Bo Nix with him. Ty Thompson is transferring finally. They broke him. They finally did it.
Goodbye, my sweet prince.
Go to Corvallis.
Not a bad idea.
They could use him.
Yep.
And Dylan Gabriel now going to be a Duck. There are rumors that they might still also be in the mix for Dante Moore. Moore might be willing to sit 1 year. Gabriel reportedly is willing to mentor him and help him kind of learn along the way. But not shocking, I think, to anybody following this stuff.
No.
But official. Dylan Gabriel, Oregon Duck.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big announcement because, as you point out, it's now official. And this was, I think, one of the biggest questions about Oregon football. Their ability to acquire talent is as good as anybody in college football, outside of maybe one or two schools who win national championships every year. So you needed to find a quarterback. You needed to replace Bo Nix. And you've now, I think, risen the expectations of we're competing for championships. And that's the goal. The playoff is expanding to 12 teams next year. We're moving to the Big Ten. We don't have the benefit to just hand a job to a kid who is unproven. And I've rooted for Ty Thompson the entire time. I love that kid, the way he stayed committed. I thought he was going to leave when Mario initially left. I thought he was going to leave when Bo Nix came. And then I thought he was going to leave again last offseason when Bo announced that he was staying. But he remained committed, and there's not a lot of kids that would have done that. And so I'm rooting for him wherever he ends up going. You're just in a position where you cannot, without the full picture, trust him to take you where you want to go. And Oregon knows that Dylan Gabriel is a known commodity. This is a guy who's been a good starter for 4 full years in college football. He had one season that was shortened by injuries. He's gotten better almost every single season he's been in college. His numbers last year were terrific, nearly 70% completion, 30 touchdown passes, which was a career high, or excuse me, the second highest in his career, 6 interceptions. He's never had a year where he's thrown more than 7. That was his freshman year at UCF. Like, this kid's the real deal, and he's going to all of a sudden raise the expectations for what you can accomplish next year. And so Oregon had a big question. It was, who's your starting quarterback going to be? As you point out, not a lot of surprises here. We all assumed that Dylan Gabriel was going to be the guy, and now it's official, and now you get to go fill the rest of your roster out.
Dumb question, and I'm curious. Is he the first left-handed starting quarterback for Oregon?
I mean, I'm sure there's a guy old-timey, but I'm trying to think in modern times.
Yeah.
I don't know in modern times if there's been a lefty.
I always love a good left-handed quarterback slinging the rock.
I do, too.
I think it's the prettiest ball in football when a lefty throws a perfect spiral. I mean, this is – you don't really need me to add the commentary that this was a slam dunk. It's as good as you could have hoped, I would imagine, post Bo Nix.
I mean, it was basically a debate between Dylan Gabriel or Cam Ward. That was your debate, and they like Gabriel because the offense that he ran, they felt like it was similar to what they have been running. Cam Ward more of a kind of air raid, run and shoot type of offense, and so they felt like the fit was there. And Gabriel, from anybody who knows this program, he wanted to cut. This was his school that he wanted to go to.
He played at Mariota's high school. Yeah,
he like when he announced the tweet, he tagged Mariota in the tweet. He wears number 8.
Yeah,
it's like they're playing in Hawaii to open the season next year, so he gets to go back to his home state. Like there was too much synergy between these two sides.
Are we going to that game?
It'd be badass. I would love to go to Honolulu next year
because it's 0 week, isn't it?
Week 0, last week of August,
24th. Yeah, I was there 2 years ago. I was there that week. Hawaii got slaughtered by UCLA. That was depressing to see.
Let's go out, man. I'd love to go to that game. And you mentioned the exciting thing about Gabriel finally signing. We all assumed that it was going to happen, so I didn't have a major reaction to it. It's just like, all right, there it is. Now it's official. You just didn't know when it was going to get announced.
Right.
I think in these transfer classes, you need the quarterback to fall so all the other people fall into line of like, okay, that's their guy. They're going to have a chance to win next year. I'm going to go play there because I know that. It kind of happened last year when Nix announced that he was coming back. All of a sudden, that's when they were able to be pretty successful, bringing other guys in that had big impacts for them last year. I think there's a legitimate chance that they land Dante Moore.
So Matt Zenitz of 24/7, he had this on video, and he wrote about it too. You can find it at 247sports.com. He was one of the people that broke the Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah, I think he was the first guy to report it.
Which, by the way, shout out Twitter. I was late to this by 20 minutes, but the first tweet I saw was the Action Network, and so I retweeted, and then I see Dylan Gabriel had already tweeted out himself.
He had his own tweet.
My algorithm's all messed up, but Zenitz was on this, and Gabriel basically was a slam dunk for them. There is a lot of intel that Dante Moore might be willing to sit a year, learn the system, and learn under Gabriel, and then become the starter for Oregon football. I don't know what the percentage likelihood of this is, but there's real intel that they could end up with Dante Morris, their backup quarterback.
It'd be massive. Nobody's ever done this. I don't know if anybody's had to do it, but you would answer the short-term and the long-term question in the same offseason. They clearly have the money to do it. It's a free-for-all in college football. Let's not forget how close he was to signing with Oregon last year, so clearly the relationships were strong. Dillingham left, probably affected that. I don't know if UCLA threw a number at him that Oregon didn't want to match. I'm not quite sure what happened there. Maybe they guaranteed him a starting spot, and he realized, you know what, I probably shouldn't start right away. But his grandma, the second he entered the transfer portal, put something up on social media saying the most important thing for him is development. And he didn't feel like he was developed at all at UCLA. He was just kind of thrown to the wolves of like, go save us. And so they're looking for development. The other two schools that are in the final conversation for him, one of them's Miami. For the love of God, don't do that, Dante Moore. Please don't do that to yourself. And the other one is Michigan. If he wants to go home to Michigan, nobody can blame him for making that call. I don't know if J.J. McCarthy is going to be back next year or not, or if that would be handed to him or how that would work. But clearly Oregon had a great relationship with him. He was committed to Oregon for a very long time, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if it happened. And it would be massive, man, because you would answer, obviously, this year Gabriel's a guy. If he goes down, you have a trustworthy backup that you can develop, and then you got a starter for 2 to 3 years after that.
Yeah, you'd finally kind of have a
contingency plan.
Yeah, you wouldn't have this. And I know Bo stuck around for the extra year, and he had a great year and damn near won the Heisman. Dylan Gabriel's final year is next year.
Yes,
That's it. It's not going to extend past that. And then after that, it's like, are we going to keep using the grad transfer thing, or are we going to finally turn the reins over to a guy that can play for a couple years again? And Dante would fill that hole. Any intel on the Walter Nolan visit? Do we expect a decision on that anytime soon?
Sounds like it won't happen soon. I did enjoy that they also invited his brother, who I don't think they've recruited very highly, but his brother is a senior in high school, is an offensive lineman from Texas, and he put out some tweets about his recruiting trip to Eugene this weekend, so they're trying to do like the family package deal thing.
The Antetokounmpos.
That's right. We're going to go get Thanasis, and hopefully it lands us Giannis. That's the strategy. I don't think anything's going to happen in the next week. He'll probably take another visit or two. I'm sure they hoped that they were going to get a commitment this weekend, but didn't happen. But that's still the biggest fish. If you can land him, it's an absolute game changer.
All right, it is 7:13. Dirt and Sprague. Dylan Gabriel, the quarterback for Oregon's future, as Bo Nix is at the Heisman presentation, so that's the next quarterback in line for the Oregon Ducks. A lot of experience and an incredible season for Gabriel at Oklahoma. They came up just one win shy of getting to the Big 12 championship. It is 7:14. Dirt and Sprague. We're back with more on 1080 The Fan.
1080 The Fan.
Listeners are the best. Graziani, of course.
Tony Graziani,
left-handed quarterback at Oregon. There you go. Good throwback name.
Hasn't been one in a while.
I'll put a poll question up on this. Dylan Gabriel to Oregon. I know they might still land a 5-star defensive lineman in the portal with Walter Nolan. And maybe they get Dante Moore, but I think there's got to be some kind of poll question. The expectation for Duck Fan next year is
playoff. I don't know about winning the Big Ten. I don't know about you're not going to go national.
You're not going to go conference title just because
I just don't know what who's Ohio State's quarterback going to be next year.
Might be Cam Ward. What if I tell you it's Cam Ward?
I can't. I think the world of Cam Ward. I think he's a really good quarterback. I think it's a great pickup for Ohio State. They're also going to lose Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't know enough about the depth behind him. I don't know what's going to take place at Michigan this offseason. McCarthy could be gone. Harbaugh could go to the NFL. Like, that's a major question mark. And as good as Washington has been this year, they're replacing a ton of talent with a pretty bad recruiting class.
Yeah.
So they also have to go find their guy in the portal, and it sounds like it's going to be Will Rogers. And I think that was a unique thing about Gabriel coming in. Depending on what happens with McCarthy, depending on what Washington and Ohio State do, at least as of now, you can make the argument you have the best quarterback in the Big Ten next year.
I didn't think about that, but that might be true.
Like, McCarthy's good. I think you're splitting hairs a little bit there. If you want to take him over Gabriel, that's fine.
Stop.
Well, I'm just saying.
We've both seen him play.
Sure, if you want to take Cam Ward over him, that's fine. If he goes to Ohio State, sure.
Yeah.
I could see the argument, but you're at least in that conversation.
Yeah.
And as of 2 months ago, you were asking yourself, who's their quarterback going to be next year? Now you know.
Can I ask you, I'm not trying to press you here, but I kind of am. Sure. Are you going to... I don't want to call it fence sitting by any stretch, but do you think you're always, when somebody says expectation for Oregon are you just going to always say playoff, or can you see yourself saying win the Big Ten next year? Or does Ohio State, Michigan, the UW kind of question marks? USC made some hires this weekend that were interesting to me.
They too need a quarterback.
They do, but I will trust that Lincoln figures that out. He needs to figure the defense out. Do you just always think you're going to say playoff, or can you see yourself saying Big Ten championship?
I think you could definitely get there. The way that they're acquiring talent, they're definitely going to get there. But I think it's a new conference, new opponents. You don't really know the landscape. You got to learn about teams and the matchups and the things that they do or don't do, and they're obviously working on that already.
Also, the weather's going to be a little. You're going to be snow games more often, I think, in this conference than you would obviously here on the West.
You got to go to Wisconsin in December or November. Yeah. It's going to be a little different. So I'm not going to do that to you in year one, but I think there will come a time that, that's the expectation year in and year out, as long as Lanning sticks around.
When I got home on Sunday, I clicked our Twitter profile. We had some people tweeting us about the Dodgers signing Shohei Otani. Jason Swigard getting a shout-out. Dirt being left at the altar yet again. And Shohei signs for 10 years, $700 million. We had left the air Friday with the John Morosi tweet that he was en route to Toronto. According to the latest, that was confusing to Otani and his agent. Otani was actually asleep when that airplane was photographed in the air.
The best thing was, did you see who ended up being on the airplane?
I didn't.
You didn't see that story?
No.
So there was an actual private jet going to Toronto. But by the way, Morosi should be fired. Like, you can't do that to a country and to a city. Like, you can't do that. They all thought Otani was coming.
Fired for wrong sourcing?
Dude, that's a horrible look. He insinuated that Otani was going to Toronto. And
he did make it seem like a
nowhere near that airplane. Like, none at all. Whatever intel you got was not good intel.
He was literally asleep when the plane took off.
You're not an insider at all if you're running with that kind of information. The plane landed, and there was a bunch of photographers there, and it ended up being the guy from Shark Tank. One
of the pitch guys?
What's it? It's the Robert guy. It's not the mean guy. It's not Mark Cuban. Who's the other white guy?
I don't know.
It's that guy. The other white guy. The other white guy
that does the
he does the private jet commercials on television
or whatever.
Yes.
God, Morosi's works at the MLB Network. You shouldn't be wrong on that report.
Dude, you can't do that. No. That's bad. That's just rushing to be first without any sort of double checking. Like,
isn't this arson judge to the Giants? Isn't this the same thing?
It's back-to-back years. Two of the biggest insiders have totally fooled a fan base into thinking they're about to make the big offseason move.
Everybody's already asking the field of the Dodgers. Swigard, you weren't surprised, I don't think, to find that he chose the Dodgers.
No.
But your reaction to what your team is now with Otani?
The top of the lineup, assuming you have health, but Betts, Otani, Freddie Freeman, Will Smith, Muncy, like it takes a ton of pressure off of your pitching staff. They don't feel like they have to go out. They can just go pitch. Now, They got to keep their starting pitching staff healthy. There's some issues there. Can Walker Buehler come back and be healthy? I think Otani, they will, he's just going to DH, and they'll let him, his pitching arm, not even going to mess around with him thinking about pitching at all next season. Down the road, I think they'll get some years starting. I wonder if they think he could eventually be the closer.
You're going the Brandon Sprague alley.
So
you're taking the take. I like it.
Go down the John Smoltz road.
Yes, sir.
And so I think they will need him to be a starter for a couple of years. They got a lot of young kids, but they got to figure out if there's something going on in how they are prepping these guys and developing them to avoid these injuries that keep happening to the Dustin Mays and the Walker Buehlers. I'd take Kershaw out of it because he's been around forever. So he's just old and breaking down.
Well, a lot of people think this is the final year for him.
Yeah.
They got to get out of some of these contracts for sure. I don't know if it's team-oriented with injuries. Mina Kimes had a clip circulate this weekend where she talked about quarterback injuries, and everybody wants to blame and label quarterbacks injury-prone versus not, and how sometimes we just need to kind of shrug our shoulders and say this is just random
luck.
There's not a physical tell of who's going to be banged up and get hurt in certain moments. I don't know if that's what you need to do to your pitching staff in LA. I don't think it's a Dodger problem. I think it's just bad luck and circumstance. But Dirt, you've been following that division your whole life. Your team was quote unquote in the running. I'm not sure how high or not they were.
According to other insiders, not in the final three, and I can't blame Otani at all for that.
Really?
I mean, why? Look, I love the Giants, but come on, man. They got nothing to offer right now outside of money. I don't think anybody was going to top them financially. They would have been willing to match dollar for dollar what anybody offered. But how many Giants can you even name?
Michael Conforto.
There you go.
Got
any others?
Brandon Crawford.
Yeah, he's a free agent, likely going to retire. This proves the point. Like, why would you go that guy? Yeah. Why would you sign? How many Dodgers can you name? Well, Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman around you in the lineup. Like, it's a no-brainer. The Giants are a dumpster fire right now. Their owner is more interested in funding Bobert's, HJs at a Beetlejuice play than he is putting a winning team on the field.
Wait, is he the guy that got the old hand-me-down from the Congresswoman?
He did not get the hand-me-down. He's a big donor of hers, though, and he's a big fan, evidently, of hand-me-downs to Beetlejuice.
Does he live in Pueblo, Colorado?
I don't know where he lives, but he's a terrible owner. He's very rich, and he's not doing anything to win. So I can't blame Otani at all for not signing with the Giants. Also, it's a tough ballpark to hit in, and who knows how long he's only going to be a hitter. Like, that to me is the only question out of this. If your team signs Otani, you're over the moon. If your team doesn't, you're able to have a little bit of perspective and say, $700 million for a guy who we don't know what the arm is going to look like. It's interesting. That's all I'm going to say. Because if he can't be the dynamic pitcher that he was, where he was a Cy Young contender, you're paying him to be two positions.
What if he's the closer, though? I think that I've been thinking this for a couple of years. That's a natural
closer's arms not blow out?
Well, I'm not saying it won't.
He's already had two massive surgeries. Yeah. He's not going to be able to pitch at least for the first year of this deal.
Yeah.
He's 29 going on 30. The contract goes until he's basically 40 years old. Making and look, when you read into the details of the contract, it's not $70 million a year.
No, I know.
A lot of the money's deferred, and so the Dodgers will have the ability to go spend money elsewhere. It's a really smart contract for them in that way. But if you're paying a guy $700 million, you're paying for two different players, and you just hope you get two different players. It's good for baseball, though. I hate the Dodgers more than anything on this planet.
I disagree with this take. This take is circulating, and I heard it yesterday, and I rolled my eyes a little bit. Why is this good for baseball? The Dodgers got another big-name player that makes their lineup feel invincible. I would have loved...
It's because it's a guarantee that you're going to see him on big stages. It doesn't mean he's going to win a World Series, but you're going to see him in the playoffs.
On big stages. That would have been a fun story. Him in Toronto. I would have liked that.
You can make that argument, but the Blue Jays are not quite the Dodgers.
After the Yankees, nobody's on national TV more than the Dodgers.
Yeah. And baseball needs to market their stars.
See, this is my problem. We'll get to the LeBron Cup, but... Isn't this kind of the problem with both our sports, baseball, basketball? It's like we're stuck in this perennial trap of this is good for the sport. The same 3 teams or 4 teams on TV every game are continuing to get the biggest named players, where it's like I kind of think spreading the camera time around is good for the sport. Is it not? a Toronto.
To me,
maybe
it's
the
not about the
Giants.
market. To me, it's not even the market. I get what you're saying, and I agree with it. It's not about the market. It's about baseball desperately needs their stars to be in the postseason. It's the only time of year that people pay attention to baseball.
That's a
and
fair
so
point.
if you're in a smaller market, like go to Toronto, for example,
Toronto's
I would
not
have
a small
loved that.
market.
It's not a small market. I would have loved that. But you're in a division with the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Rays, and the O's who are now hot. There's not a guarantee that you're going to make the playoffs every year. The Dodgers, for all their shortcomings in winning the big one, are in the playoffs every year. They win 100 games every year.
Mathematically should be the favorite to win the division
every year.
Every
year they're going to be the favorite to win the World Series. And so you're basically guaranteed seeing him in the postseason. And baseball has gone 10 years with the two biggest faces in your sport playing for the same organization that can't sniff the playoffs. Otani can't get anywhere close to it with the Angels, and Mike Trout is still there. He was the other face before Otani came along. Dude hasn't been in the playoffs since 2014. It's been almost a decade. Like, you got to get these guys in the playoffs. And so I agree with your take on the market. It's not just an LA thing or a Dodger thing. It's just he needs to go somewhere where you're going to be able to showcase him in October. And you can't make an argument there's a team better suited to do that than the Dodgers.
Swag, how do you guys end up trading and landing Mike Trout now? I just assume that's how this goes. You're the new Yankees. You just get every player, and it doesn't matter.
No, they'll ride with. They love Outman. The young, he was a rookie last year.
Thanks for telling me who he was.
And
can't wait for when's Swag's first complaint of the season going to come after spending $700 on Otani. What are we going 2 weeks into the season? This middle reliever can't throw strikes.
That the bullpen will be the one thing.
They're 9 hitters, only hitting 275 this year, guys. That's not good enough.
We're 13-2. We should be 15-0.
How are you not 17-0? What are we, 2 weeks into the
If
season?
they don't
before he
address
starts
the bullpen,
pitching?
that will get me fired up.
There it is.
Here it
The
comes.
$700 million they
$700
spent
million.
for
Yeah.
one of the biggest players to ever exist in human history.
After paying Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman.
And you're already bitching
Already
about your
complaining.
bullpen, and they've played 0 games so far. I love that. I
They're
love
not
who you've
good
become. It's the most Lake Oswego you are in your life.
Yep.
Is the Dodgers.
That's being a Dodger fan.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for the honesty, though. I appreciate that.
Yeah. I'm pleased that they're acting like the Dodgers. Let's go.
We're a
Because I'm
basketball
fans
school
of
now.
other small market teams or underfunded teams, and you're just scratching and clawing to be relevant.
Good luck to you. Being the favorite in baseball is a nerve-wracking, awful position to be in.
It is.
I thank you for taking that pressure off my Bravos a little bit.
Nobody's giving you guys a chance.
No, we're just laying in the weeds.
Nobody's crediting the old Braves.
Have you given up on baseball?
I'm going to
worried.
watch, but, I'm around, but that's,
I'm worried where this is going for old Teddy Ball game. I'm worried
his fandoms.
the legacy might die and the old uncle's going to swoop in like, let's go back to Safeco, little man.
Yeah,
You're
he's
like,
gonna be a Mariner
where's Teddy
fan."
Ball game? And your wife like, well, he's in Seattle with Uncle Mike. He's becoming a tried and true blue.
No, we're not rooting for any Seattle teams. That's against the rules in our household.
Really?
Seattle teams are out of the question.
Oh, okay.
Not going to happen.
All
man.
right.
That's off limits.
How little brother of you.
Yeah, the PGA Tour, it is very little brother of me. PGA Tour is dying. My baseball team can't find a player. Like, I got nothing in the summer now. What else happens in the summer sports-wise? What else can I watch?
You got the Olympics this summer.
Oh, God, I don't care. I don't care. That's like the worst thing you can. That's bad.
All right. You can see if the Timbers get it back together.
Yeah, when do they start? When do the Timbers start? Soccer dirt's
they
back.
start usually in March.
March? Let's do this, Timbers.
March through October is the regular season.
Give me a scarf. I'm ready to hold it up. Come on, soccer.
You like try to lie every day on the show? or
Fill my hole, man.
What?
Fill the hole in my heart.
Oh. You're in a dark place right now. At
It's
least
tough.
you got a quarterback.
Yeah, of course he went to the Dodgers.
Wow. I mean, come on.
I know. I get it.
That's more
I
money
know.
than I thought that was going to get paid for that.
$700 million is insane.
Are we ever going to see anybody beat? We can't see anybody beat that, right? $700 million?
No, there's no chance.
LeBron to the Saudi League in 3 years?
The other underrated part of this for the Dodgers that doesn't affect their TV deal is very strong.
Oh, yeah.
And worth like billions of dollars. And a lot of these other markets are with Bally Sports, and Bally Sports is bankrupt. And they don't know who's going to be. Like, this was the one thing that was funding a lot of this progress in baseball, and they have no clue where they're going to go.
That's the Mariner problem with Root. They're struggling financially to do anything because Root Sports is struggling. You're seeing that all across the league. We have the Heisman stuff to get into. The IST Cup Fever Championship game was won. Some more NFL, maybe some college football portal news. I don't know where we're going to go in the next hour and a half, but we'll do it together next. But for Swag with the Sports Update.
Now, Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Brought to you by Toro Mexican Kitchen. Transport yourself to Baja, Mexico with delicious regional dishes and cocktails. Book your table today at toropdx.com. First on The Fan. Well, the Oregon Ducks are hoping to hit the transfer portal magic again at quarterback, just like they did with Bo Nix, who finished third in the Heisman voting. They land Dylan Gabriel over the weekend, coming over from Oklahoma. A season ago, he threw for 3,660 yards and 30 touchdown passes. The Eagles out of the number one seed slot in the NFC. The offense could not score a touchdown in Dallas. The Cowboys, 14 straight home wins, 33-13. The final, their defense forced and recovered 3 fumbles. Patrick Mahomes is still fuming over an offensive offsides call that wiped out a go-ahead touchdown in the final 2 minutes of their game. That allowed Buffalo to come into KC and steal a 2017 victory. Monday night doubleheader for you to round out Week 14. It starts with the Titans in Miami facing the Dolphins, 5:15 on ESPN. The Fish are 14-point favorites. At the same time on KATU Channel 2, it's the Giants and Packers in the Big Apple. Green Bay, a 6-point favorite at the Spirit Mountain Casino Sportsbook. Blazers still without Jeremy Grant. He's yet to be cleared out of the NBA concussion protocol. Might get DeAndre Ayton back. He's been upgraded to questionable with that sore knee. Portland's in L.A. to take on the Clippers, 7:30 on Root Sports Northwest. The Clips, 12.5-point favorites. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigart from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Get in the game at Spirit Mountain Casino. Watch and wager on all the pro and college action. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
If you can't find the humor in today's NBA, is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
All right, I got a couple of Otani tentacles I still want to get to. We'll get to LeBron raising his 5th championship this weekend coming up in a moment.
Some say those are worth 2 titles, so he tied MJ on Saturday. What a moment.
He's going to win it next year. He's going to be up to 8. When's he going to pass Bill Russell, man? This is nuts. Legacy moments for LeBron James. I do want to take a moment and pour some out for the fine folk of Toronto. I saw there was a story about they thought he was coming. They thought it was a done deal. Morosi had that report. I don't know if you should fire him. That was a little tongue-in-cheek, but you can't be wrong that bad.
That's a massive story to be wrong on.
So as it was reported that Otani was on the plane to Toronto, tickets for the home opener, as this news broke, for the 500 level of their stadium, yes, they have a 500 level at that stadium in Toronto, they were going for $212. Top of the stadium, $200 for just the home opener. Imagine what the rest of the tickets look like.
Did Toronto, quickly, did the Blue Jays in this moment also change pricing?
I think this was secondary market. People were going and people were trying to capitalize on it. Oh, Otani's coming. I'm going to resell my tickets. That's a good question, though. I don't know that. After he signed with the Dodgers, those same tickets were online for $50.
Yikes.
Some people made out like bandits, and that's brutal to imagine that your team is signing Otani and then it doesn't happen. This is not surprising, but it was frustrating nonetheless to read this. So Otani signs for $700 million. Do you want to take a guess at how many teams in the National Football League were sold for less than the contract that Shohei Otani just signed?
So their current owner bought the team for less than $700 million?
Family lineage, that whenever the team was bought, how many teams in the NFL were bought for less than $700 million?
Buffalo.
Yep.
Miami.
Let me see. No, Buffalo is not on here, I don't believe.
The Pagulas or whatever, they bought the team for more than... Okay,
I guess
Miami?
More. Miami, well, there's a lot of them, so I have to scroll and see. I don't see Miami on here, so they must not be one.
Roaring start. The Patriots for sure.
You got to go old time. The Patriots were bought in 1994 for $172 million.
Jets.
The Jets. Where are the Jets? They were bought in 2000 for $635 million.
Ravens have been owned forever by the same entity.
They have. Where the hell are the Ravens? $600 million in 2000.
I'm going to say Bengals.
Bengals, yes. $8 million in 1967.
Yep. One of the best ROIs you'll see.
Dude, there's some crazy ones on here.
Cleveland's tough because he's not that old. Pittsburgh for sure.
Pittsburgh, oh God, you want to see Pittsburgh? Where the hell are the Steelers?
$400,000.
Yeah, it's been in the Rooney family forever.
You wanted to, they bought it in 1933.
Wow. $110,000.
$2,500. Yeah. That's how much the Pittsburgh. This was what I told you was going to piss you off. Like somebody in 1933 thought, I'm going to buy that for $2,500, and the Pittsburgh Steelers, if they sold now, would go for how much? $7 billion, maybe.
Yeah.
So it goes.
The point is, most
Chargers
of these
are in there.
The Chargers
bought that.
$70 million in 1984.
The Chiefs.
The Chiefs were sold for $25,000 in 1960.
The Giants.
The Giants, yes, $500 in 1925. $500.
Yeah, they were an original founding.
Yeah, the Cowboys are on here. $150 million in 1989. So the number of 32 teams that were sold, the purchase price less than Shohei Otani's contract, 23 of the 32.
Jeez.
The lowest one, the Packers don't even have like a price because they were just created in the middle of cheese country. The lowest listing price was the Chicago Bears, who sold for $100 in 1920. $100 in 1920. What the hell were our great-grandparents doing, huh? Where the hell were they at on that one? $100?
Half of my grandparents were in Japan, and the other half were old racist
bread lines at that point.
Rednecks drinking too much and doing nothing with their lives.
Scrounged together $100. We could have owned the Chicago Bears, man. What are we doing here? So I saw that this weekend, and it really ticked me off. That's crazy that some of these teams, the most recent, obviously, I believe, was the Jets in 2000. That's the most recent for $635 million. But 23 of the 32 teams sold for less than what Shohei Otani got. I want to get to LeBron James, the in-season tournament. Did we watch? Did we care?
Cup fever. I watched it in a unique way.
You did? You watched it in Espanol?
Not by choice.
Not by choice. What did we make of the theatrics afterwards? Am I going to be butthurt dirt here? Let's talk about that next on The Fan.
Who's Stinking It Up?
Do not go in there.
It's time for Who's Stinking It Up, a sports lowlight that's ripped from the headlines.
We couldn't do diddly poo.
Brought to you by Three Mountains Plumbing. Schedule your appointment online at threemountainsplumbing.com.
O'Connell to the it's intercepted. Ivan Pace Jr. with the diving pick. 1:52 to go, and that may have sealed it for the Vikings.
Kevin Kugler, Fox Sports, there on the call. What a game. What an ending, huh?
I don't know what game that was from.
I don't either.
I have no clue. Who threw a pick at the end of the game?
That would be the Raiders.
Oh.
So the Vikings preserve
sorry.
a 3-0 win.
Swag told me about this. I forgot mentally. Kugler, 3-0 win. It's the first 3-0 win since 07. The first in NFL history in a dome to only be 3-0.
Minnesota Vikings still alive in the playoffs.
Who's stinking it up? The Vikings, but they won. And the Raiders. Brought to you by Three Mountains Plumbing. Make plumbing and electrical services delightful. Get your time back. Let the pros tackle whatever projects you need completed. Schedule an appointment online. Three Mountains Plumbing. That's threemountainsplumbing.com.
Hey, everybody, Sprague here. This time.
Call me the gangster of love.
This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Some people call me.
All right, welcome back in. 7:49. We got a lot to get to. We haven't talked about the Heisman Trophy yet. That Jaden Daniels won it on Saturday night. Penix in second, Bo in third. Conversation out there about the Seahawks and what happened to them this weekend, where they're going in the years to come.
Sprague okay?
I don't know. We lost Sprague. He disappeared. He left back-to-back commercial breaks, and he is nowhere to be found. I have no clue. No clue. I don't know where he went. Did we watch the in-season? I'm going to do the NBA segment since he's not back yet.
Nice.
Did we watch the in-season tournament finale on Saturday night?
It was on the TV at the bar I was at on date night.
Okay, so you're going background, hanging out, watching the in-season tournament finale.
So it was up there. I was keeping an eye on it, and it pretty much looked, every time I looked up, it was either LeBron or AD in the paint.
Doing
either
something in the paint.
Getting to the rim or getting fouled.
It was, so I had to work on Saturday night. I did not have the chance to watch this live, but I was curious to see just the spectacle of it and what it looked like, because there was a part of me on Friday, I think were the semifinals on, no, Thursday. There was a part of me that just kind of rolled my eyes a little bit at the pomp and circumstance that was happening there.
Yes.
You okay, buddy? You're doing all right?
You feeling all right? Guts okay?
You poop your pants in there? What's happening?
No, sorry.
We're doing your segment.
Yeah, we're talking NBA basketball here.
I know. You don't know what happened out there. I'll tell you.
There's other people here?
Yes, there is.
Oh.
And they want to talk.
Oh, there's people in the building today?
You know, once you give everybody a microphone into life, everybody's like, hey, all right, I'll take this opportunity. Let me tell you what I think.
I would like to give you my thoughts on all of this stuff happening. But no, I was watching the warm-ups as the teams took the floor, and it's just like I'm rolling my eyes because it's a red carpet, and there's a giant trophy, and I'm like, are we really going this extreme?
What did it look like they were walking out of?
Exactly.
On that red carpet? Did you see that?
I missed that part.
Google it.
Oh.
Female body part.
Yes. Okay.
We'll just go with that.
Yes.
And then I didn't watch because I was working, and I see the celebration is like we're going champagne, we're going goggles, and
I saw the goggles in the post-game interview, and I'm like, oh, okay.
There was only like 2 players on that team that knew what to do, and they tried to do it, and the young players are like, woo.
Yay, this isn't an actual championship. Yay.
But you know what? Can I defend it a little bit? I thought it was ridiculous. We still don't know how to feel about this title or whatever it's called, the cup. Adam Silver probably couldn't have done better in his mind than saying, I want LeBron in the final. I want LeBron to win it. And I want LeBron to embrace the moment as if it's a championship.
No, it's great. It adds legitimacy to it. No question.
It has to, right? It has to have some legitimacy.
I watched NBA Today on Friday. They were at Vegas, and Silver sat down and did a quick interview with Malika. But he did say, we got to look at how we set it up, because the home atmospheres like at Indiana and stuff, he recognized that was like, I think they were truly hedging their bet because they didn't know how it was going to come off. They were hopeful. He also said, we got to look at something different maybe than the point differential, because it while it's, they did clip some things from soccer, and he said, but if fans are going to look at it as poor sportsmanship, like they're not going to get why you're up 25, why are you still have your starters in there and running it up sort of thing? If they don't get it, if they think it's poor sportsmanship, then they got to look at something different.
Stop reacting to Twitter is what I would tell Adam Silver.
So,
the only thing that the parts that rub me the wrong way.
At least he's looking, he's like, yes, it's a big success, but we need to find a way to capitalize it, to make sure that it grows from here, that this isn't just a flash in the pan sort of thing.
Yeah, I'll say this. It was a tremendous success for the league. The ratings were up. LeBron winning it was huge. Like that it could not have been gone. It could not have gone any better, to your point. What they need to get rid of are the stupid courts. The courts are just dumb. Just get rid of those.
It wasn't good.
Play on normal courts or have like a colored paint or a colored stripe.
You can put the logo thing at center court.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's all I want.
Okay, but that's fine. The color courts were dumb, and it made it look gimmicky.
I understand
and stupid
using different jerseys. If you want to do alternate jerseys for those games, fantastic. So when I look at the screen, yes, I clearly know this is a in-season tournament game, but you don't have to do that with the courts.
And the only other thing that I would add is, I will poke fun at spraying champagne for a championship in the middle of the season when it's like, hey, we're just going to keep playing now. Like now you're showing up 2 days later and you're playing the same game. That's a little over the top for me. I still think that you need something else tangible outside of getting NBA players richer as a reward for this.
You need home court advantage in the playoffs.
Has to be, as a fan, there has, like, we joked about this last week. Somebody got very angry with me. But if I'm a Blazer fan and my team's winning, it's like, this is cool. I'm glad that we won. It's not an NBA championship. It doesn't put its banner in the building, but I'm glad that we won. But outside of, Anthony Simons making an extra $500,000, I don't really care that much.
Why did somebody get mad at you?
Well, because I said, what does it mean if you win it? And they, well, it's entertaining basketball. Why would you complain about that? I said, I'm not complaining that it's entertaining basketball. I'm just asking, like, what does it mean to win this outside of some guys got rich that are or richer that are already rich? I just, to your point, maybe it's first round home court advantage. Maybe it's a draft pick. It doesn't matter to me. There has to be something as a fan that ties into the emotional investment to winning this because it's not a championship and we'll never view it as a championship.
Well, do you think Pacer fans think their team can win the title this year? Like legitimately win the championship?
Maybe they do. I'm not there, but maybe they do.
But most Pacer fans are probably honest and say, well, no, but we have a really fun team, and I like watching Halliburton play.
Be in the playoffs, yeah.
It was what I found kind of entertaining that I didn't think was like the money part that you speak of. It's crazy when you go to the payroll of the Pacers. You kind of realize what $500K would have meant to that entire
for
team.
A lot of guys on the back end of every bench in the NBA, but the Pacers more so for sure.
The Pacers' entire payroll, that $500K, you could feel them carrying, and like they didn't play a good game, and they found themselves in it until about the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And that was the good thing. I got to watch this game Saturday, and at the place we were staying, we had like a weird older controller, and it wouldn't let me go up on the channel. I could only go down, and when I got down, it was to 900, and I had to go all the way from 900 to 2. And so I went back to 2. Everything was, pregame, the halftime stuff, all English. And then the game started, and somehow I got the Spanish call. So I don't know how that happened. I didn't hit the SAP button.
How were the broadcasters? Better than Breen?
I mean, they were lacking a little bang, but I also can't speak Spanish.
Do you know how to say bang now in Spanish?
Yeah, El Bango? I don't know. I maybe it's just bang. I don't know what it is, but my point is, like, I ended up kind of muting it because it didn't help me, and I just watched the game and explained what it was. I hear all the critiques, the criticisms. This is where I think it gets a little murky. I do think there should be a banner, but bear with me here. Not a banner year by year like a title. Put NBA in-season tournament and make that one banner. And then every year, if your team is lucky enough to win it, just next to it, put the year. And then if you keep winning it, put the years under it on the one banner. You don't need to make multiple banners.
It's like going to the NCAA tournament.
Yes. And the other part of this is if you want people to care more next year, trying to improve it, I don't know. We have to somehow, this has to mean something more than just a regular season thing.
Yeah.
But not quite NBA Finals level. It looked ridiculous having beer and champagne. People may have laughed watching LeBron, get the little champagne bottle and spray his teammates with it. But, like, at least he participated in it.
I mean, it's what the NBA wanted and what they needed.
And it's remarkable. The 39-year-old 21st season guy ended up winning this tournament. And I'm not going to make the argument for legacy stuff, but like, if those Jordan fans would have watched Jordan do this at 39, they'd be doing things to themselves in closets and, laughing about it. It's just remarkable that he won this tournament. I can't believe it.
It's nice that Anthony Davis finally showed up, too. Right when they needed him. He showed up on Saturday night.
He is the best player when you're playing a small team.
Yes.
When you play a really good-sized team,
how would the celebration ceremony feel if it was done on the winning team's home court?
Well, they need to stop at the Vegas thing.
Yeah, if you have home court advantage.
I think that's the biggest thing that they can do is to figure that out. They're going to have to change the schedule because they got to give themselves some time once they know who's in it, where to go. You just can't turn that tanker around, especially if you want all the media and national TV and all that stuff. You got to space it out, but can they do it without losing the momentum going from the quarterfinals to the semifinals to the title game? That's the big question.
The two tangible things, because I'm with you, you need more for fans to care about than just $500K for a player. Two things I would point to. Guaranteed home court advantage in the playoffs, no matter your seeding. And if you are a mediocre to bad team that got hot and won this, no matter what your fate is, you either get the home court for the playoff or you get a top 5 pick in the draft guaranteed. Now, where you fall in the lottery, I don't know. But for all the people that hate the tanking teams, look at the Detroits of the world. You don't want to reward just bad basketball. Give teams that give a damn and try and execute properly, give them a guaranteed top 5 draft pick.
Imagine, to your point on Indiana, do their fans think they have a chance to win a championship? I don't know. I don't think Indiana's going to win a championship this year. But imagine if you added either of those to the play, what they were playing for on Saturday night. $500,000 is a lot for guys on that roster, sure. if I tell you you're guaranteed a top 3 seed in the Eastern Conference or a top 5 pick in the NBA draft, how massive is that for them?
I think it's a big deal.
It's a 100% game changer.
Yeah.
Right now, they're 5th in the East. Maybe they end up with home court. Maybe they don't. The top of the East is a little jumbled. You add, though, a top 5 pick into the mix of what you're building with all your young talent, and now you can go get another difference maker on a rookie contract. Like, it's night and day different than just saying, here's $500,000, LeBron James, congratulations. I think there just has to be something more tied into it. And if you want me to be invested as a fan outside of, hey, it's nice to get entertaining basketball in December and November, like, that's cool. I'm not poo-pooing that at all. The guys bought in. It means more than regular season games. That's great. But as a fan, like, there just has to be some sort of payoff for me outside of like, cool, we won. Now we're playing on Tuesday. The season continues. So that's what you need. And we'll see if the NBA, look, it was a tremendous success in
I don't
year
know how
one.
you do that, Dirt.
I don't either, but I think what we're talking about would be 2 really good things. Some sort of draft asset and some sort of home court advantage protection, I think would guarantee a little more engagement from fans. We got a lot to get to in the final hour of the show. The Heisman Trophy was awarded on Saturday night. Was anybody surprised? How would we have voted? Would it have been the same as the final order? I want to get to a couple of news and notes out of the NFL weekend. Load of final hour. Don't go anywhere. Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
During the Jeep Wrap Up the Year sales event, well-qualified current F
Dirt and Sprague is KFXX, KWJJ HD2 Portland.
This is now my duty.
Well, you can do it. I can do it.
1080 The Fan, an Odyssey station. Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Brought to you by Stanford's The Classic American Steakhouse has exactly what you've been craving. Visit them in Clackamas, Tanasbourne, or online at stanfords.com. First on The Fan, can the Oregon Ducks hit the transfer portal jackpot again? Bo Nix finished 3rd in the Heisman voting over the weekend. While the Ducks found his successor in the portal, Dylan Gabriel, committing to go to Eugene, coming from Oklahoma, where he threw for 3,660 yards and 30 touchdowns with the Sooners a season ago. The Eagles are out of the number 1 seed position in the NFC after the Cowboys won their 14th straight home game, a 33-13 rout of their division rival, holding Jalen Hurts and company without an offensive touchdown thanks to 3 forced fumbles and recoveries by the Dallas defense. Patrick Mahomes still can't get over the fact that the officials had the audacity to call an obvious offsides whistle that wiped out their go-ahead touchdown in the final 2 minutes of the game. That allowed the Bills to hold on for a 2017 win in Kansas City. Tonight, it's a doubleheader for Monday Night Football. The Titans are in Miami to face the Dolphins, 5:15 on ESPN. The Fish are 14-point favorites. At the same time on KATU Channel 2, the Giants and Packers from MetLife Stadium. Green Bay 6-point favorites at the Spirit Mountain Casino Sportsbook. Blazers and Clippers from L.A., 7:30 tip on Root Sports Northwest. Jeremy Grant still out in the NBA concussion protocol. DeAndre Ayton's been upgraded to questionable with his sore knee. L.A. 12.5-point favorites. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigard from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Get in the game at Spirit Mountain Casino. Watch and wager on all the pro and college action. Learn more at SpiritMountain.com.
Your home for bowl games and the college football playoff. The Odyssey app and Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan.
Hi, everybody. Harry Carey here. We've got a great show lined up for you.
This is Dirt and Sprague.
I once took a pair of binoculars and stared at the sun for over an hour.
Why would you do that?
Curiosity, I guess. Heck, I'm curious like a cat. I have a couple of friends that call me Whiskers.
With Andy Dirt Johnson.
Hey, now, kid, we all know that the moon is not made of green cheese.
Yes, that's true, Harry.
But what if it were made of barbecue spare ribs? Would you eat it then?
And Brandon Sprague.
I know I would. Heck, I'd have seconds. And then polish it off with a tall, cool Budweiser.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Hey, let's do this. Final hour, Dirt and Sprague here on Portland Sports Leader, 1080 The Fan, 99.5 HD2, the Odyssey app, live on YouTube. Shout out to everybody watching this morning. People are yelling at each other about Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski.
What are we arguing about with Tom Brady and Gronk?
All sorts of quarterback takes are coming in. Dylan Gabriel sucks. Dylan Gabriel's great. It's all over the map today. I love it, and we love all of you for watching the show.
There's a poll question on that topic. I just posted at Dirt and Sprague. Dylan Gabriel chose the Ducks as the next team in the NIL transfer portal window. What is the 2024 Oregon Duck expectations in their new B1G conference?
Oh, look at you.
Win the B1G and be a top 4 seed, or top 12, make the playoff.
Yeah.
Right now, 16 votes in. Top 12 make the playoff at 81.3%.
I mean, it's kind of, yeah. I mean, the barriers are out of the way, right? 12-team playoff. It's easier access for everybody, especially playing in a conference like that. That was a big takeaway that I had from the weekend. It's interesting that you bring that poll question up, because I wanted to talk about the Heisman here. So the Heisman Trophy ceremony was on Saturday, and there were 4 finalists. I DVR'd it because I was curious. I was obviously working Saturday night. I watched a little bit of it when I got home. Didn't watch any of the other players' stuff. I just wanted to see what they did with Bo and the interviews, and the landing stuff was kind of funny. To no surprise, Jaden Daniels took home the Heisman.
The 2023 Heisman Trophy winner is Jaden Daniels from Louisiana State University.
So they broke down, people did on social media, and go find it, the voting per region, right? So there's like a Southwest voting, a Northwest voting, a Midwest voting, and when you look at the different quadrants, what ended up kind of affecting the Michael Penix argument was that Bo took a lot of votes on the West Coast away from Michael Penix.
Oh, yeah.
And when you look down in the Southeast, it was almost 100. I mean, I'm over-exaggerating, but it was a very healthy
Slanted.
majority to Jaden Daniels. And it made me chuckle of, if Michael Penix was in the SEC, I don't think there's a chance in hell he doesn't win the Heisman Trophy.
Even with the way the season went for like a month and a half?
There were people that voted legitimately.
Yeah.
Jalen Milroe, number 2 in their Heisman ballots.
Yep.
Like, that happened. Those ballots are out there. A lot of people, you can't reveal them before the voting, but a lot of people do afterwards and say, here was my Heisman ballot, and you react however you want.
Yeah.
Some of it's clickbaity. Like, people were voting Jalen Milroe top 3 in Heisman voting, and there's not a world that exists in which he was better than Michael Penix this year. And it was an interesting, final, here we go. It's just hard to get attention and respect unless you're a Caleb Williams type from last year who came from Oklahoma, and there was so much hoopla and hype about him that it just, I think if he was in the SEC and went undefeated, he wins the Heisman Trophy.
They also went 11-1 and played in the Pac-12 title game.
Yes,
So at least
did.
like with the Caleb stuff, you could see the factor. I thought a couple things. I wasn't shocked by the way the voting broke down.
No.
I would be willing to wager most of the voters probably voted a little early and had their minds made up that Daniel's season was too good, historically, statistically speaking, to bypass despite the 3 losses that his team had. The one thing about this, Jaden Daniels doing that on a 3-loss Arizona State team isn't winning the Heisman.
No.
I think that's kind of the point, because we saw a guy with crazy numbers that didn't win the Heisman, and he played at Stanford.
Yes, he did.
They gave it to a running back in the SEC because they went undefeated and played the national championship or whatever the hell Bama played in that year, if not won the national championship. So I think what we see is the obvious slant coming from the South. The West Coast voting doesn't shock me. Bo had such a great run to end the year, and Penix and the Huskies had kind of struggled with every opponent seemingly, that I think it was hard for West Coast people that voted before the conference title game, and then the ones who held out waiting for the conference championship, I think made their pick. I think your point probably is valid, that if he's on Alabama or he's at Georgia and he does that, even with the bumpiness that was the last of the regular season, hard for me not to see Michael Penix not winning the Heisman, given how much more respect the South and Southeastern Conference gets compared to everybody else, including the Big Ten.
Yeah.
And so I think it was always going to be an uphill battle. I actually thought the underrated, because I'd mentally said, Daniels is going to win this. This is over.
When the odds are that stacked going into the weekend, there's no chance Jaden Daniels is not winning the Heisman.
Well, what I was surprised was, and maybe I shouldn't have been, I was surprised how far down Bo was than even Penix. And I was also still shocked watching the ceremony that Marvin Harrison Jr. was there.
Why is he there?
If
one of these things is not like the other.
They gave him the Bolitnikov. That's ridiculous. Neighbors or Roma Dunze, and I'd pick Rome because I'm biased West Coast guy. Those were your only options.
If Troy Franklin had better numbers than Marvin Harrison.
Marvin Harrison was not the best wide receiver nor the most impressive one. Somehow got the narrative from the beginning of the year, got him to New York. I'm sorry, the committee just told me who should have been in New York over Marvin Harrison. Jordan Travis. If he is so important that you screw Florida State out of the playoff,
he's not a Heisman
why is he
finalist.
not one of the 4 best players in college football?
I know, his numbers were good too.
Such a confusing season in general for the sport.
Nothing makes sense.
I was really happy for Jaden Daniels. His teammates clowned him when he left the school. They filmed his locker. Oh, he left anyway.
They did.
He turned his career around, his reputation. Good for him to win it. Penix deserving, Bo Nix deserving, but after the Bo Nix loss to Washington and Penix's struggle bus the last 2 months of the season, month and a half, you kind of knew that it was over. It was Daniels.
I'm glad you brought up the Bolitnikov, because it is funny. With some awards, it just matters stats, right? Like Jaden Daniels won the Heisman Trophy because of his numbers.
Yes.
What's his best win? It's, I don't know,
Missouri on the road,
so
yeah.
Missouri, okay, that's a good win. Missouri was a decent team this year. But he doesn't have those marquee wins like Michael Penix did, right? He didn't go 11-1 in the regular season like Bo Nix did.
He got unfortunately knocked out in the Bama game. Otherwise, maybe he stands toe-to-toe with a Bama team, and that, propels it.
Could have happened, but it's just funny how he wins the Heisman because numbers were too insurmountable. His numbers were too good. And then Marvin Harrison, who had, 5 or 6 receivers who had better numbers than him, wins the award for best wide receiver. Like, if we're just going numbers awards, Malik Neighbors is the Bolitnikov. He had the most receiving yards in the nation. So statistically speaking, he was the best, but that's not good enough for the Bolitnikov. Let's give it to Marvin Harrison because he did, I guess, other intangibles, and Kyle McCord was his quarterback, so he gets that award. But Jaden Daniels wins the Heisman because his numbers were the best. I didn't really disagree with the voting. It's just, this is one of those years that I didn't really feel like there was a right or wrong answer, kind of similar to the playoff, right? Like if you were going to tell me, hey, I think Michael Penix should deserve it. He's undefeated. He beat Oregon twice. That he won a conference, that should count for something. Like, yeah, I totally see it. You want to tell me Jaden Daniels had a season that only 5 or 6 quarterbacks in the history of the sport have ever done with the number of passing yards and rushing yards that he had? Like, all right, I see that. There's not really a wrong answer here, but it is unique that certain things matter in some voting and certain things don't. And I wasn't surprised that Bo Nix ended up being third because I think you just have a hard time. His numbers were better than Penix's all season, essentially. Outside of the start, he finished much stronger. And he didn't have any of those clunker games like ASU. The Wazoo game was kind of a bad one for Penix. But I think head-to-head matters to a lot of these voters. It doesn't matter for Jaden Daniels. He didn't have to win games, but with Bo Nix losing to Penix twice, I think they had a hard time putting him ahead of Penix.
Well,
I don't blame him.
I find it just all kind of odd. Like, it's kind of like the playoff conversation, as you allude to. What is important here?
What's the most important factor for you?
Because if you're going raw numbers, again, we can date this all the way back to Christian McCaffrey being absolutely hosed in that department.
Yeah.
If you're talking about, what do they always like to say, the Heisman moment?
There is no Heisman.
Bo's Heisman moment was maybe the cross body throw against Oregon State. I don't know how big that is for people. Like, what was Jaden Daniels? Was it Missouri? Because Penix at least had two moments, right? He had the both the wins against Oregon where he threw the touchdown pass and ended up lining up and getting the win after blowing the big lead and them having to come back. So I don't know how they define the criteria for the award. To me, much like the playoff conversation, it's not breaking news, dude, but I just kind of leave, again, going, cool. So all that matters is what happens in the South.
Yes.
I mean, that's what sucks about this in the expanded playoff is we are going to see more teams and players get screwed as this thing evolves because Greg Sankey's able to go on national television and basically tell you, we're the best. We dare you to leave us out. And the old-ass committee members are terrified of him because he's basically the pseudo commissioner of the entire sport at this point. So that's kind of the takeaway for me. Daniel's deserving of it. I don't mean to take any of that away, but much like the playoff criteria, it always just fluctuates and changes to what suits the southeastern teams more than it does the guys on the West Coast who don't get quite the same exposure.
Yep. Well, final hat tip to Penix and to Bo, who both had great seasons. The turnarounds of their careers were awesome. You can make an argument for each of them to be Heisman Trophy winners. Jaden Daniels is the guy that took it home, but a lot of fun to watch them battle all year, and really cool to see a couple of guys from the Northwest as Heisman finalists.
You see, the Penix jacket was pretty sweet.
That was awesome,
He
dude.
looked like Willy Wonka.
They hadn't had a Heisman finalist, I want to say, in 30 years or something crazy like that. It's been a long time since Washington had a Heisman finalist.
Yeah.
And so Bo was obviously only the fourth in the history of Oregon, so very unique seasons, great seasons, and cool to see them in New York over the weekend. Jaden Daniels took home the award. In my opinion, largely because he played in the SEC. Doesn't take anything away. He had a great year, but I think if Penix was in the SEC on an undefeated team, he wins the Heisman Trophy this weekend. If you were a fan of this team, would your mindset be changing? Because they got a tough decision to make. I want to talk about that coming up next on The Fan.
tell all the hunters to lay down their guns.
This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
You guys into role playing?
I love role playing.
Do you?
Yeah.
Cops and robbers, whatever you're into.
Cops and robbers?
My wife's an actress. What do you think?
Any Oscar-worthy performances in that bedroom?
Yeah. Well, I want to role play here for a moment, if we will.
I faked it. You didn't know.
Because I think there's a fascinating decision lying ahead for an NFL team. Maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe I'm making too much of this, but I want to ask the question nonetheless. Now, I am personally impacted by this performance because it cost me money this weekend. I gambled on the Detroit Lions going to Chicago as a 3.5-point favorite.
One field goal shy of hitting the over. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Thanks for any points at all. Maybe Jared Goff stops throwing interceptions. Detroit could score. I keep seeing those tweets of like the team's logo with the fraud alert, and it's like a call coming in, like scam alert. And there was a lot of those with Detroit this weekend, but I don't want to talk about the Lions.
Haven't covered a number since October 30th.
Like, what are we
Bear
doing
that
here?
in mind next time.
What are we doing here, okay? What are the Bears going to do this offseason? So there's rumblings growing. I'm going to throw some numbers at you. Over his last 17 starts, Justin Fields, his pocket management has gotten a lot better. In his last 17 starts, he's accounted for 42-plus 100 yards total, passing and rushing, 33 total touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. This weekend, he outplayed, wasn't, lighting everybody on fire with his arm, but he outplayed Jared Goff in that game. They blew out the Lions and dominated them. Final was 28-13. They're likely going to have the number 1 overall pick in the draft because it's coming from Carolina. They're also going to have their pick, which is going to be somewhere borderline top 5. And there's a growing movement of people that are saying you could get a lot if you traded that number 1 overall pick, a massive haul to build around Justin Fields, or do you take Caleb Williams or whichever quarterback you like? Likely Caleb. But they're heading for a very interesting decision this offseason.
I don't envy the radio hosts in Chicago, though I would be jealous of the topic itself because I think it emotionally charges up sports fans there.
100%, because I could see you argue either way, and I'm like, yeah, I could see it.
I mean, there's no guarantee that Caleb or Drake May or any of these other quarterbacks are going to be as dynamic as maybe everybody thinks.
No, not at all.
Caleb playing in an environment like Chicago versus getting to play in Oklahoma and Los Angeles, that could be a different Caleb Williams. It's all about what's around him. Now, Fields himself is a topic that's interesting. There's a producer on the gambling show I do that works in Chicago, and he's a diehard Bears fan, and we asked him yesterday.
Yeah, how you feeling about this?
He basically thinks if they seemingly win out from here, he thinks they're keeping Fields, and he thinks there's a lot of chatter that if they do that, Eberflus will also keep his job. But see, why are you oohing to that, but maybe not oohing about the Fields thing? Because I don't know about you, 12 interceptions is too many. I don't want more turnovers, and I know that's
over 17. It's not terrible. It's not great, but it's not terrible.
Yeah, but I if we could be sub 10 here with my quarterback, I'd be happy about it. That's a lot to ask. I get it.
Of course.
It's funny when you add an actual weapon like DJ Moore, how much better a quarterback can look in certain moments. I'm also still not sold he can be the guy that wins it all.
That I know. That's why it's such a tough conundrum, because you're taking a chance on somebody who is completely unproven. We can feel how we want to feel about Caleb Williams, but there's no guarantee he's good in the NFL.
There's not. He's a smaller quarterback. He's a shorter quarterback.
Exactly. And we're seeing what's happening with Bryce Young right now, and I think the situation would be a little bit different, but undersized quarterbacks just have a hard time in the National Football League. He's very reliant on running around and extending plays, and I just think he's going to have a hard time doing it from the pocket in the NFL. And so it's a tough putt to pull that off. The other counterpart to that, too, is if Chicago – so right now, if the draft was today, they would have the number 1 pick in the draft from Carolina. That seems almost locked in because New England and Arizona both have 3 wins. Carolina ain't winning 2 more games this year. That team sucks.
That team's
so you're going to have the number 1 overall pick in the draft.
Yep.
Right now, their pick would be number 7. So we'll see that could swing kind of either way. There's some teams with 4 wins and 5 wins and 6 wins. So you're somewhere in that probably 5 through 11 range where your pick's going to end up. The fascinating part is how much could you trade that number 1 pick for? Like, what if you could get what they got last year, which was Carolina's first, this year's Carolina's first, a good wide receiver. There was probably some other compensation in there too. And that was for Bryce Young. If you're trading this pick for a team the chance to draft Caleb Williams, how many first-round picks are you getting out of that? And would it be better to build a roster that way to say, now we have all these first-round picks, all this cap space, build it around Justin Fields to turn him into a winner, as opposed to like starting over and trading Justin Fields this offseason.
You'd have to go through the list of teams, right? Like, what teams to you are screaming sneaky trade up to get that pick? The Giants might be in this.
The Giants should be in it.
The
Tennessee
Raiders
should be in it. The
this.
Raiders should be in it. I would argue the Jets should think about it, but they probably won't.
I don't think the Jets will because they're stuck in the Aaron relationship. The
Atlanta,
Commies,
New Orleans, Seattle.
Yeah, but
any of them should do it. Or would think about doing it. There's somebody dumb enough to pull that trade off.
But see, what's funny is in the same breath that you say that, Dirt, you also have been the guy that we've done a segment. Is it worth trading up to get quarterbacks?
I don't think that it is, no. But somebody's going to be dumb enough to do it.
Well, certainly.
Carolina traded a haul to go get Bryce Young last year.
Yeah, but if you read a lot of the stuff, that sounds like that was an owner decision that not everybody in the organization was all in on.
There's a lot of bad owners in the NFL.
There are a lot of bad owners in the NFL. I'm stumped.
What would you, if you were a fan of the Bears? That's why we're role playing here. If you were a fan of the Bears and you were calling into Chicago sports radio today, what would you be advocating for? Because I think I've landed on keep Justin Fields, trade the number 1 pick in the draft. You have a top 10 pick of your own. You're going to get another top 10 pick. Like, use Washington as an example. They want to bring Caleb back to D.C.
Yeah.
They have right now, they would have the 4th overall pick. So you would trade down to 4, get future first-round picks on top of it. You'd have the 4th pick and the 10th pick to go get a left tackle, a Marvin Harrison Jr., whoever you want to continue to build. That's where I've landed. I think that's the right move for them.
So Justin Fields is your guy now.
I don't know if he's my guy. I want to see more.
They beat the Panthers.
I know.
The Vikings.
I know.
And they did beat the Lions. They should have beaten the Lions twice, actually.
They should have won
that first game. Yeah. Before that, they lost to the Saints, the Chargers.
I mean, it's not been perfect. I know Fields has not been perfect. It's funny, the oohing that I'll do for Eberflus, because my reaction to that is don't bring him back.
Well, but the position you're putting that in the hypothetical world is like, why are you firing the coach? So you're bringing the GM back? He's made some interesting moves.
I know. I want an offensive guy. I
tend to agree with that. God, that's a tough position to be in, man. I think given my Chicago...
It's a good position to be in because you can choose your kind of path here.
So
you're
overall,
you get it right.
You're calling in Chicago Sports Radio. Andy in Chicago.
Sheboygan here.
Sheboygan. Andy, what do you want to do?
I'm saying trade the pick. Justin Fields deserves more time.
And you can from Naperville.
You can build like he is improving, it feels like, with every game that he's getting. He seems more comfortable.
He has a security blanket in DJ Moore.
He's got a receiver. Yeah. Like, you have 2 top 10 picks this year to go get elite weapons or offensive linemen or whatever.
Get him Roma Dunze for crying out loud.
You could get Marvin Harrison Jr. You can get Roma Dunze. You can get whoever you want.
Well, do you want to trade the other thing? Do you trade the first pick or do you trade the second pick they have for the Capitol to get the player?
I would trade the first pick because you're just going to get an insane haul for the rights to draft Caleb Williams. Because somebody is drooling over that selection. Well, they're going to go crazy.
The DC one, I know they liked Sam Howell earlier this year. It's not gone well the last couple of weeks. Ron Rivera's probably going to get fired any minute, but the DC one's fascinating because that is the hometown guy. You could bring him back.
New ownership group that's trying to sell tickets, trying to generate interest.
Yep. You get to play in Dallas at least, so you get a dome protection weather-wise. It's just what kind of player you think Caleb will be in cold weather climate. And ultimately, I guess it doesn't matter. He's going to play on those conditions anyway.
It might backfire. He could turn into an MVP, and you look back and you're like, damn, I can't believe we passed up that chance. But I think Fields has shown enough this year.
This year, like lately, that's the tough thing. You're gauging this off of a couple wins against the Vikings, who won 3-0 yesterday with Dobbs and Mullins, and the Panthers. Panthers by 3.
I know. He's got 13 touchdowns and 6 picks this year. It's not perfect, but he's a great athlete.
I'm trading it.
You're trading the pick?
No, I'm keeping it.
You're keeping the pick?
I'm trading the second pick.
Okay.
I'm using number 1. I'm restarting.
That means you have to trade you're trading Fields into. And you could probably get something decent for him right now. Somebody will take a flyer on him.
Maybe the Lions within the division will say, hey, we think he could be better than what Goff is offering. Goff can't play in anything sub 43 degrees because he's a California boy, true and true. But
he can't. It's so nuts.
I think I'm keeping the pick, and I'm not going to allow wins over Carolina and Minnesota. And by the way, do you think they're going to win at Cleveland this weekend?
I mean, I wouldn't put it past them. I'm not overreacting to Joe Flacco.
But I also don't think we should be reacting necessarily this way.
No, I know.
You're talking about organizational future you're reacting with, where they also have Atlanta at home. I don't know if they'll win. And they're at Green Bay in the year, and Green Bay could be playing for a playoff spot.
They could be. So could the Bears. They could technically. I think they're technically still alive as a wild card.
I think technically you're not wrong, but like, what if they lose at the Packers And they're both trying.
I'm still trading the pick. Trade the pick.
No matter what happens in the next 4 weeks, you're keeping Justin Fields?
I'm keeping Justin Fields, and I'm taking 17 first-round picks for the number 1 overall pick.
And if he throws 3 picks and they lose at Cleveland this weekend?
No, he's fine. He's all right. He's not going to throw 3 picks.
All right. Swag, are you keeping Fields or are you taking the number 1 pick?
Because that pick's locked in. Carolina's not winning 2 more. They're not winning 2 more games. Carolina will have the number 1 pick, and that pick will go to Chicago.
I don't know. I'm not sold on any of those quarterbacks being the thing, like Andrew Luck.
You're not sold on Caleb Williams?
Not at Andrew Luck levels. Like if
Andrew Luck went to
I'm
1
going
conference
to
title game. Just want to bear that in mind.
I mean, it was more about winning with him. It was about his size and all that other stuff.
The prototypical quarterback size.
And I don't know, I haven't paid enough attention. Is there a offensive tackle, a defensive lineman, somebody else that is worthy of the number 1 overall pick that could absolutely cement something like that? But I would, boy, if I set a ridiculous price and somebody offered it, I'd probably move the pick.
Somebody's going to offer something crazy.
So,
you know that they are. How many first-round picks could you get for trading the number 1 pick in this year's draft?
And you might be right on that. I'm wondering if other teams are going to do your take. How is this gone for teams?
It never works out. It never
doesn't
works
work out.
No, but teams are dumb and they're desperate and they need quarterbacks and they want to sell tickets. And that's what Tepper did this last year. He needed a splash move. He wanted the number 1 pick, and it has backfired tremendously on them because now they don't have. They would have had the number 1 pick this year in the draft. Carolina would have if they wouldn't have taken Bryce Young because they would have still sucked no matter who their quarterback was. They just keep Baker Mayfield. They're still terrible. And you could go draft Caleb Williams this year, and you would have had your first-round pick last year, too.
Ryan Wilson, CBS, 3 offensive tackles in the top 10 of his latest mock. The Penn State kid is number 3 overall.
Go get a left tackle and go get one of those elite wide receivers, man. And 4 future first-round picks.
It's not a bad theory. It's not a bad idea even because nobody can guarantee anything at quarterback.
No.
I think I'm just going to ultimately rest with I really like Caleb. I think Caleb's a dude.
Totally fair.
I'm not sold on Justin Fields, nor am I sold on Matt Eberflus.
Come on, man. He beat the Lions this weekend. What are you talking about?
There needs to be a conversation at some point. Like, that team's been a little problematic for over a month now. They're a fun story, but Dan Campbell's solution was maybe I need to get into him more. And I'm like, I don't know if that's the thing.
I think you were already getting into him, Dan. I don't think that's your problem.
Your quarterback's not playing well.
Let's talk about one NFL team in a similar situation to Detroit right now. Is this the end of the road? And we'll get to that coming up next. First, here's Swag with SportsCenter.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a SportsCenter update on 1080 The Fan.
Brought to you by Toro Mexican Kitchen. Transport yourself to Baja, Mexico with delicious regional dishes and cocktails. Book your table today at toropdx.com. First on The Fan, the Oregon Ducks hope to find transfer portal magic one more time at quarterback. After seeing Bo Nix finish 3rd in the Heisman, they land Dylan Gabriel committing to Oregon over the weekend. He comes from Oklahoma, where he threw for 3,660 yards and 30 touchdowns for the Sooners a season ago. The Eagles out of the number 1 seed in the NFC. Cowboys defense held Jalen Hurts and company to no offensive touchdowns, forced 3 turnovers. It was a 33-13 rout. Patrick Mahomes still can't get over the offsides call that wiped out a go-ahead touchdown in the final 2 minutes of their game, allowing the Bills to hold on for a 2017 victory. Double your pleasure tonight on Monday Night Football. The Titans are in Miami to take on the Dolphins, 5:15 on ESPN. Fish are 14-point favorites. At the same time on KATU Channel 2, the Giants and Packers will do battle in the Big Apple. Green Bay's a 6-point favorite at the Spirit Mountain Casino Sportsbook. Jeremy Grant still out for the Trailblazers, yet to be cleared from the NBA concussion protocol. DeAndre Ayton questionable with his sore knee. They're in L.A. to take on the Clippers, 7:30 on Root Sports Northwest. Portland, 12.5-point underdogs. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigart from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Get in the game at Spirit Mountain Casino. Watch and wager on all the pro and college action. Learn more at SpiritMountain.com.
The inside story on the Blazers, Ducks, and Beavers. Danny and Dusty.
Sponsored by Pfizer.
This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Well, things aren't going too good up north right now. This weekend, no different. Geno Smith hurt his groin, I guess, in practice. Couldn't play. It was the Drew Lock show in San Francisco. They hung around. Give them credit. They almost covered the spread. I think the spread actually closed at 14, so if you got the live number, they did cover. But the spread when we talked on Friday, and Swag picked the game, was 10.5, 11, somewhere in that range. They lose by 12. Seattle has now lost 5 out of 6 games. Their only win in that mix was a game that they probably should have lost at home to the Commanders.
Yeah, you can make an argument. Yeah.
It's the only one they got. They're now under 500 on the season at 6-7. That's best for, or good for, 9th best in the NFC. They host the Philadelphia Eagles, the angry Philadelphia Eagles, off of back-to-back embarrassing losses on Monday night. They go to Tennessee and Arizona towards the end of the year and then have a home game against Pittsburgh. I asked the question, they were a surprise team in the playoffs last year. Nobody saw that coming. They wrote us off. We didn't write back. Geno Smith, awesome story. He has not had a good year. It has not gone well for them. They gave him a short contract. They seem to be a team that's kind of in that no man's land, like not bad enough, but not good enough. And it just, where it's your path, you got to pick one direction or the other. And I ask, is this the end of the road for the Seahawks, the current iteration? I don't know about coach, but with Geno and just trying to cobble this thing together for the next couple of years, because they need a franchise quarterback.
I think you can make a really strong argument. This should be it for everybody.
Everybody involved?
Yeah. I think people in Seattle have been unhappy with Pete Carroll for a couple years now. Like, last year was fun. I don't know if that was so much about making the playoffs as much as it was being able to laugh at Russell Wilson.
That was a big part of it for sure.
Because Seahawks fan away from social media would tell you readily that he was kind of a weirdo and not always the easiest guy to root for. But he was the quarterback that helped win a Super Bowl, and so, like, how could you ever turn against that? And they wouldn't publicly.
Yeah.
It's been ugly for a little bit. Even last year was a fun start, and then they kind of limp into the playoffs, and they get absolutely housed in the second half of that Niner playoff game.
A few of their wins, you remember the Brown game vividly because you gambled on it. They've had a few this year. You're like, ooh, that was ugly. How did you win that game?
Yeah, like victories that you can look at and say probably didn't think you'd win that game. You probably could have lost or should have lost that game that they eked out, and then they also have a surprise game against the Dallas Cowboys. I don't know, man. What has Pete Carroll shown the last 3-4 years? Is getting to the playoffs but getting trounced in the first game like matter? I don't know. I don't think it does. And then, yeah, Witherspoon looks good, but do you really trust everything John Schneider's been doing the last couple years? You can point to the Russell Wilson trade. I don't know how you're going to feel about that if the Broncos come back and win that division. And
They could make the playoffs. Maybe they go on a run.
Yeah, there's the Broncos hosting a playoff game as you don't make the playoffs.
Right.
So that's going to be quite the flip. I just feel like it's kind of the end of that run.
Kind of time for a restart.
Their coach is the second oldest coach in football. Their offense has been a disaster and embarrassing in many ways. But I don't know the level of activity, the ownership stake is involved there. I don't know how Jody views everybody. I'm sure she's got good relationships with Snyder and Carroll, and maybe they're just going to call the shots until they're done because they delivered the only Super Bowl to that city. But I think you can make a really good argument. This should kind of be it for everybody, and
blow it up.
Even DK. I love DK, and I'm not suggesting Seahawks fan wants to get rid of him, but man, when they're not winning games, he has these moments, and I know Fred Warner pushed him, but
yeah,
he's always involved in something or always causing some kind of 15-yard penalty or some kind of melee. And so I don't know, man. That whole environment is weird in Seattle right now.
Losing 5 out of 6. Again, they play Philly next Monday. That game will obviously be here on the Fan. So you could be facing 6 out of 7. Philly's going to be pissed. They've had a couple of bad stinkers.
Like that Philly defense, I don't think Seattle, I'm not going to eliminate the idea of Seattle winning that game.
Nope.
And then if the schedule after that, that's the crazy thing.
Titans, Steelers, and Cardinals is how they close.
You can win all those
2
games.
of the 3 on the road.
Yes.
Sure, you could win all those games. You also lost to the Rams 17-16, and you got killed by the Ravens 37-3. And so
certainly,
I'm not going quite there yet. I will say, and people were commenting at the text line and on the YouTube chat, if Chicago, the team we were just talking about, does decide to move on from Justin Fields, you got to be in the mix there, right? Is that an idea you kick around? You're probably not going to be bad enough unless you want to take a flyer on maybe Penix or Bo, one of these guys in the back end of the first round. If they slip a little bit, that's the kind of move you want to make. But I just think you have to answer that question. Like, we can get to Detroit later this week. I think Detroit is a better version of Seattle. They're a better overall team, but they're in the same kind of situation where it's like, that's good, But then you got Jared Goff in a big game, or playing in cold weather. And do you really trust that in the playoffs? Is that really a game changer? If you got to go head to head with San Francisco or Dallas or Philly come postseason time, it's just a tough. It's a tough putt, if you will. So I think Seattle's got to figure out the quarterback position. We'll see if they do it this offseason.
What about the coaching?
And coaching too. I mean, I agree with you. If I were calling the shots in Seattle, I would be probably doing mean things to my bodyguards because that's what Jody Allen does. And then I would be saying, let's blow this thing up. Let's restart. Now's the time. But will they do it? I don't know. They've been incredibly loyal to Pete Carroll for many years. Just watching them this weekend, looking at the head schedule of Philly on Monday, it's going to be tough for them Monday night. Let's close it up, get you set for your night in sports, answer some poll questions, wrap it up on a Monday next on The Fan.
Like I don't have a partner.
This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
All right, we got some poll questions to answer. Get you set for your night in sports. Shout out to everybody watching on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and like the show. We love you all.
Nice little week for the old Huskies. Penix at the Heisman. Cade Otton with the game-winning touchdown in Atlanta. And Browning beating Minshew in the Apple Cup in the NFL.
Yeah, I had a Husky fan troll me who doesn't follow me on social media yesterday because Jake Browning won.
Yeah.
I said, okay, cool. Nice. I'm a clown.
Don't bet against him.
Got it. You didn't have the balls to tweet this to me on Friday when I had the take. You waited for the outcome of the game. Why is that? If you were so confident in Jake Browning, why didn't you tweet me, call me a clown on Friday? Huh? Why don't you look in the mirror, you clown?
What if you're talking to the person that's not listening to the show? Probably just familiar with you with Oregon Duck takes.
No, it was a very specific take because I gambled on the Indianapolis Colts this weekend, and I said Jake Browning sucks, and that's why I'm gambling on the Indianapolis Colts. And Jake Browning still sucks, and I'm probably going to gamble against him at some point. But I just love when people don't have the confidence to tweet that. When they hear the take, they wait for the outcome of the game, and then tweet it. Because if he loses yesterday, you're not tweeting that to me.
Is there any difference between doing that and you holding receipts on takes?
No, not really.
Okay,
but I just like pointing it out. Didn't have the balls to say it in the moment. Say it on Friday. Say it with your chest. Don't be a coward. Hide behind a fake Twitter account. Yeah, I'm looking at you, person who doesn't follow me on social media. Husky fan. Shut up. Blazers are back. Blazers are back in action tonight. 7:30 tonight against the Clippers.
Oh, who does these 7:30 tips every time we play the Clippers? Why is it the Clippers is every time a 7:30 tip?
LA's tips are at 7:30, not 7.
All of the LA tips. They never play 7 o'clock games.
Unless it's a national TV thing. Locally, it's 7:30.
We can't have people in LA get to the stadium on time. I mean, come on, let's just keep moving the game back. I think you should tip at midnight down there. I'm going to watch the first quarter and a half tonight. The spread's 13.5.
Are you confident? You say that so confidently, like every game.
Weeknights?
Yes.
Weeknight games? Yes, unless it's a national game like TNT has it at 7 o'clock.
Yeah. But TNT games usually tip at 7:30 anyway.
No, they moved it up.
Oh, they did this year?
They did. ESPN, they moved them up.
So we're going to miss the entire fourth quarter of this game because it'll be 9:45 at night.
Yes, it's going to be way too late, and I want nothing to do with the outcome of that game.
But might win though.
They're back in action. They've been, they've been competitive lately. I'm not going to bet that one. I'm going to wait and see how the first quarter goes. If they jump out on top, then maybe you lay a bet. But the spread is 13.5 for those who were so inclined. They are back in action tonight. The rest of the NBA picks up. Did we like the way? By the way, that was an underrated part of the IST. Did we like that there were no other games? Because I saw some fans bemoaning that of like. Not having anything else going on. It was just IST-centric.
Why would, just because their
team
didn't play?
They just wanted their teams to play and not having their teams to play.
You can't have a tournament and then, have random games happening outside of the tournament. It doesn't make any sense.
Why not? It's regular season
It'd be like a B fan. Hey, I want my basketball team to play. The NCAA tournament's going on. Give me another option.
Yeah. You might be in the CBI.
So those teams last week, though, the Mavericks game and I forget who they played on Wednesday, those were scheduled, so they have to leave 2 open dates with the teams in your group. So the teams that get to the knockout round, they have their games. So then the NBA then figures out who's left, and they schedule those ones. So those are unscheduled until after the group play.
There you go. Dylan Gabriel chose Oregon as his next team. What is the 2024 Oregon Duck expectations in their big conference? 72.9% of you say top 12 make the playoff.
Yeah, I was not shocked, but commend Duck fan for not just falling all the way in and saying, we got to win the B1G.
Yeah, year one in a new conference. If Michael Penix had gone undefeated in the SEC, would he have won the Heisman this past weekend? 91.5% of you say yes, and that is the correct take. If he was at LSU or Alabama or Georgia, he would have won the Heisman Trophy.
Yeah.
That's how it works. That'll do it for us, folks. Thanks so much for being a part of our Monday, everybody. We will talk to you tomorrow at 6 a.m. If you missed the show, you can catch it all day on YouTube and the Service Patriots podcast as well. Calling us next. You're listening to 1080 The Fan.
I'm PJ Glasser with Beck Hewell. On Thursday, December 28th, Rutgers takes on Miami.